Chapter 34-39. Bang. Ling Han's entire body trembled while blood flowed out of his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, and he seemed to be in a horrible state. Experts of the immortal path were truly powerful. Just a glare from them had almost killed a demon-level genius. However, this also showed how powerful Ling Han was. He could receive an attack from an expert of the immortal path and not die. Cui Zhenhai was also slightly stunned. He did not expect Ling Han to be able to withstand his spiritual attack and not die. From this point alone, this kid was indeed 10 times, no, 100 times more outstanding than Cui Zhangyun. Unfortunately, this person was not his son. On the contrary, he was the enemy who killed his son. You have some strength. No wonder you dare to be so impudent. However, before me, you are just an ant, Cui Zhenhai said coolly. Those who kill my son will die. He attacked brazenly from afar with a palm strike that turned into thousands of sharp swords that shot towards Ling Han in unison. Every sharp sword was wrapped in high-level energy, flying over in a dense manner, covering the sky and covering the earth. No one below the immortal path could resist this attack. After crossing the immortal gate, a living being's life level would increase by leaps and bounds. Compared to the secret-seeking realm, it was a completely different level. There was no comparison at all. Therefore, when experts of the immortal path attacked, mortals could only wait for death. Ling Han did not want to wait for death. He was waiting for a miracle. Tens of thousands of swords attacked, forming a black mass. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared. No one saw how he appeared. It was just that a ball of light suddenly condensed, and then he appeared, blocking in front of Ling Han, facing the thousands of sharp swords. This person stretched out his hand and pushed. Instantly, the tens of thousands of sharp swords stopped. He then stretched out his hand and pressed down. Pa pa pa, the sword shadows were all shattered. Everyone was stunned. Someone actually blocked the attack of an expert of the immortal path. Hiss, did Chen Fengyan make his move? When everyone looked over, they were shocked because they didn't know this person at all. Cui Zhenhai revealed a solemn expression and asked, "Who are you?" This was a mysterious person. His surroundings were shrouded in brilliance, but his face would appear from time to time, so everyone was sure that he was not Chen Fengyan. But other than Chen Fengyan, there was actually another expert of the immortal path guarding the imperial capital. Previously, the old eunuch Zhu Qi had already shocked everyone. The imperial capital actually had a secret-seeking expert guarding it. This time, it was even more shocking. An expert of the immortal path had directly appeared. Just how many trump cards did their Saint Emperor have hidden? The mysterious man said, "I am the spirit of the imperial capital's green dragon formation. My duty is to guard the capital region and prevent cultivators of the celestial path from interfering. You have violated the rules, so I am here to suppress you." Formation spirit. Everyone was astonished. Their imperial capital actually had a protective array formation. Moreover, from the tone of the array spirit, it could even suppress cultivators of the celestial path. This was too shocking. Ling Han heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. As expected, Chen Fengyan had not been cultivating all day. He had already made preparations. As long as someone dared to stand up and resist, there was no need to worry about the experts of the immortal path. "Suppress me," Cui Zhenhai sneered. Chen Fengyan, you really are crazy enough. You didn't even show yourself and only sent out a formation spirit to suppress me. The Saint Emperor is high and mighty. There is no need for you to act personally, the formation spirit said indifferently, as if it understood human nature. Fine, I want to see how you will suppress me. Cui Zhenhai was so angry that he laughed. Boom, he exploded with all his strength. His clothes suddenly bulged, and a light pattern appeared between his brows, spreading to his entire face. Then his whole body shone, appearing incomparably divine. Kill! He charged out and slammed a palm towards the formation spirit. Not only did he want to destroy the formation spirit, but he also wanted to kill Ling Han, who was behind him. The formation spirit went up to meet him. Its body was already glowing, and it also emitted a divine radiance. Boom! The two of them collided, and instantly, terrifying ripples spread in all directions. This was a clash between cultivators of the celestial path. The ripples were incomparably terrifying, enough to kill cultivators of the secret-seeking realm. The formation spirit pressed his hand down. Trap! 4 screens of light appeared, enveloping it and Cui Jinhai within, and also trapping the surging ripples inside. Bang 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 bang. No matter how turbulent the ripples were, they couldn't blast out at all, avoiding a catastrophe. Otherwise, the people in the plaza would have died in large numbers, and even the imperial palace might not have been saved. It would have been razed to ruins. Cui Jinhai couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise. The formation spirit's strength exceeded his expectations. But he was still proud, saying, "Although you are powerful, you are still a formation spirit and not a real existence of this world. How can you match up to my hundreds of years of bitter cultivation?" He grabbed the spine at the back of his head and pulled hard. A shocking scene appeared. He actually pulled out a long beam of light from his body. This beam of light was a bit like a sword, but also a bit like a snake, and its body was slightly curved. This is the foundation of the human Tao that I cultivated. I studied the skeleton of a true dragon and built it into a great dragon, Cui Jinhai said proudly. Cui Jinhai said proudly. As he spoke, the long pillar in his hand let out a dragon's roar and transformed into a huge dragon with 4 legs. Die for me! With a light roar from Cui Jinhai, the great dragon moved its 4 legs and charged towards the formation spirit. A pressure that was above the mortal world assaulted them, causing everyone to shiver. Thankfully, there were 4 screens of light that blocked the majority of the pressure. Otherwise, everyone here would have knelt down. Immortals were higher than the 9 heavens, and mortals could only worship them. The formation spirit, however, was calm and unafraid. He faced the great dragon and punched out. Simple, direct, and violent, very much like Qin Fengyan style. Could it be that the formation spirit could inherit the personality of the person who set up the formation? Peng, the punch landed, but a strange scene appeared. The great dragon actually tunneled into the formation spirit's fist. What was going on? But in the next instant, the great dragon was spat out from the formation spirit's mouth again. But this time, it lost its dragon form and turned into a beam of light, as if it was a sword that had not been sharpened. Xiao, the beam of light flew back into Cui Jinhai's hand. Cui Jinhai turned pale with fright. You actually extracted the essence of my great dragon. His foundation of humanity was far stronger than those of the same level because he had observed true dragons and cultivated a sliver of dragon qi. But now, this dragon qi had been absorbed by the formation, so his advantage naturally no longer existed. The formation spirit was unmoved and said indifferently, "I am the spirit of the green dragon formation. To me, dragon qi is a powerful and nourishing thing. You used a great dragon to attack me, so naturally, you will only suffer losses." Cui Jinhai cursed in his heart. How could he have known that this formation spirit was so freakish that it could actually extract the foundational soul? Otherwise, how could he possibly have done so? But his heart was also beating like a drum. To be able to so easily extract his foundational soul, just how powerful did this formation spirit have to be able to do so? This was not something that could be done with just elemental restraints. Fear suddenly rose in him. Chen Fengyan had not even made a move, and just the formation spirit alone had already caused him to suffer a great loss. If he continued to be entangled, the situation might become even worse. Chapter 3441. When news of Cui Jinhai being suppressed by the formation spirit spread, it caused a great stir in all the historical sites. Those experts of the immortal path who had mysteriously appeared all released the people they had detained, and changed to imparting peerless Tao techniques as bait, enticing the people to become their disciples. This move was very useful. Who didn't want to become a strong cultivator, to be high above and look down on all living things? It was just that it was too difficult to enter the Imperial Academy. In the past, they only recruited nobles. Although the restrictions had been lifted, the requirements to enter were still too high, blocking a large number of people outside. Now that there were cultivators of the celestial path establishing sects and passing down supreme Tao techniques, who wouldn't be happy? Plus, the formation spirit's message to the Saint Emperor was very clear. As long as it didn't violate the laws of the empire, Chen Fengyan would be magnanimous. Therefore, entering these sects to cultivate was not a betrayal of the empire. In an instant, the entire empire was stirred. Large numbers of young people headed to those historical sites to change their fates. But the Imperial Academy was naturally different. The chairman of the council passed down a strict order forbidding the children of imperial officials and generals from entering sections. They could only be sent to academies established by the empire. With such a strict rule in place, naturally no one dared to go against it. Entering sects was not against the law, but disobeying orders was a great crime. Cultivation required resources, and it was difficult for poor families to produce noble children. Therefore, although these sects recruited many disciples, there were very few who could be called talents. Geniuses were even fewer. In reality, there were geniuses in poor families, but because of their family conditions, they missed the best age to cultivate. Now, if they wanted to catch up, they would have to pay at least 10 times the price. Chen Fengyan cultivated diligently. Now, this world was becoming more and more lively, and also more and more chaotic. It was all because of Chen Fengyan's personal might that they were suppressing the situation. Once he was defeated one day or died, then this empire that had been flourishing for a while would definitely collapse in a single day. Therefore, only by becoming strong could one win respect and live freely. He stabilized his realm and then continued to increase his cultivation. This time, it was a rush, so it was inevitable that there would be situations where the foundation was unstable. Therefore, it must be checked in advance to not leave behind future troubles. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed. Chen Fengyan still hadn't come out of seclusion and didn't take any action against the experts of the immortal path who suddenly appeared. As time passed, some people started to get restless. Chen Fengyan should be at the foundation establishment realm as well. However, he set up the Azure Dragon formation in the imperial capital, which is why he could suppress Cui Zhenhai. The world has only just begun to recover. It's already extremely difficult for people to advance into the foundation establishment stage. It's impossible for them to break through again. According to reliable sources, the Demon Emperor managed to block 100 moves from Chen Fengyan. The Demon King has just forged the foundation of humanity. Based on this, Chen Fengyan should be at the late or peak human foundation stage. At most, I've established the foundation of the heavenly Tao. Rumor had it that it had a nose and eyes. The first step on the immortal path is foundation establishment? Ling Han murmured. According to the rumors, foundation establishment was above mystic seeking. Of course, foundation establishment was many times more powerful than mystic seeking. After leaping through the immortal gate, the leap in life level was unimaginable. However, the heavenly rat demon once said that Chen Fengyan's cultivation is not only at the core creation realm. Foundation establishment is the first step on the immortal path. Core creation must be the second step. As for Chen Fengyan, he's at least on the third step. Hiss! Ling Han clenched his teeth. Theoretically speaking, it was difficult to nurture a foundation establishment realm cultivator in the current environment. For example, the demon race only had one demon emperor who had reached this level. The demon race controlled the land, sea, and air, so the resources they had were definitely much more than the human race. That was why the demon race was so confident that they wanted Xianbei country to submit. However, Chen Fengyan's strength was completely unreasonable. He stood on the third step or even higher. How did he cultivate? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Ling Han wouldn't have believed that Chen Fengyan was so powerful. If it was merely cultivation, Ling Han definitely did not think that Chen Fengyan would be able to reach such high achievements. Thus, he definitely had an astonishing treasure trove in his hands, which was why he was able to leave the others far behind, and leave them in the dust. However, the resources in Chen Fengyan's hands were probably only enough for him to use. Even his sons could only be said to have average cultivation and were far from being monstrous. Right now, there are rumors everywhere. Some of the fake are true, and some of the real are false. I reckon that even if I told them what the demon rat said that day, those people wouldn't believe it. People always believe what they want to believe. They subconsciously avoid unfavorable news and treat it as fake. From the looks of it, the current peace and tranquility won't last long. Another storm is coming. Ling Han shook his head, put aside all distracting thoughts, and focused on himself. 2 months had passed. The environment had changed abnormally fast. The power of heaven and earth had become denser and denser. Cultivation was twice the result with half the effort. What originally needed 2 to 3 days of cultivation could now be achieved in 1 day. This gave many new soldiers who had just stepped onto the path of martial art a chance to catch up. If they could get a few more treasured fruits, there would probably be a large group of young experts in the engravement realm. Ling Han's progress wasn't slow either. He was about to reach the peak of 2-bone. In these 2 months, his biggest improvement was in the use of the heavenly pattern jade and the demon monkey fist. Now, he only needed 5 seconds to compress the heavenly rune jade. Furthermore, after advancing to the 2nd bone realm, his telekinesis had improved a little. At most, he could compress the heavenly rune jade to 2 caddies and 8 tails. Although it was only an improvement of 2 tails, it was a reduction of 2 tails from the foundation of 1.5 kilograms. This was an improvement of over 6%. Unfortunately, the speed of the heavenly pattern jade still couldn't break through 10 times the speed of sound. This made Ling Han feel regretful. For the demon monkey fist, every punch he threw out now would have a demon monkey appear. It was incomparably ruthless and strengthened the fist force, increasing its destructive power. At this moment, there was finally a force that couldn't hold back and entered the imperial capital. This was the Hunyuan sect. An elder brought a young man to the entrance of the imperial capital academy. They didn't say anything and just sat there cross-legged, blocking the entrance. Immediately, a guard went up to chase them away. In the end, the other party spoke. This time, they were here to challenge the academy's outstanding students. It would be a one-on-one battle, and if there was someone who could defeat that young man in the same realm or age, then they would pat their butts and leave. If not, they would block the entrance for 10 days. The news immediately aroused the fighting spirit of the students, and they all came out to challenge. In the end, no matter who challenged, they were all easily defeated by the young man. This news spread throughout the imperial capital like a hurricane. The Hunyuan sect had come to challenge the imperial capital academy, but no one was a match for them. This was a heavy slap in the face. The imperial capital academy had gathered the most outstanding students in the entire Xianbei country, but they couldn't beat a sect disciple who suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Where was the imperial capital academy's face? Chapter 3442. Emperor Capital Academy was blocked, and no one could win. At first glance, it looked like Emperor Capital Academy was useless. There wasn't a single person who could fight in such a big academy. They were all trash. But thinking about it again, Emperor Capital Academy gathered all the geniuses in the country. If they couldn't find anyone who could fight, were there really no geniuses? Or was it that the academy didn't teach well and couldn't teach people? If it was the latter, then who would want to enter Emperor Capital Academy in the future? This symbol of the best academy in the kingdom couldn't even compare to Hunyuan sect. Yes, when everyone chose the path of martial art in the future, they would definitely consider Hunyuan sect first and not Emperor Capital Academy. This was to weaken Xianbei country's rule from the source. With Hunyuan sect, there would be another Green Sky sect, Ocean River sect, and so on. They would continue to block the entrance and completely destroy Emperor Capital Academy's reputation. In this way, would Emperor Capital Academy still be able to recruit geniuses? After Ling Han found out, he couldn't help but look at this old and young man from Hunyuan sect in a new light. This move was really vicious, but he couldn't find any flaws on the surface. They didn't break the kingdom's laws at all, so how should they punish them? There really weren't many true geniuses on Emperor Capital Academy's side. Other than Ling Han and Hong Tianbu, these 2 monstrous geniuses, there were only a few princes. The demon race didn't lack geniuses, but they were originally unwilling to submit, and they still wanted them to work for them? Not long after, there was news that Hong Tianliang was going to make a move. Speaking of Hong Tianliang, although he was the grandson of Grand Preceptor Hong and could be considered a genius, he was actually a tragic figure. He had lived in the shadow of his elder brother for a long time and had been able to keep his fighting spirit high for so many years. It was actually very difficult for him to surpass Hong Tianbu. But there was Hong Tianbu in front of him and Ling Han behind him. They were both insurmountable mountains. He must be very depressed. Now, Hong Tianliang stood up to fight the Hunyuan sect youth. Could it be that he wanted to make a comeback? Ling Han found it interesting, and he also thought that he couldn't let Hunyuan's sect continue like this. If Hong Tianliang couldn't handle it, he would make a move. The next day, Ling Han took a few children out and ran to the Imperial Capital Academy. At this time, there were already many people here, including many princes. All of them were eager to give it a try. Previously, Ling Han fought against the Purple Rainbow sect and killed Cui Zhangyun. Although he provoked Cui Zhenhai, a powerhouse of the immortal path, in the end, he was able to escape danger and even obtained a great opportunity. Therefore, this time, all the princes wanted to snatch this business. However, that young man was really strong, and they had no confidence in winning. Therefore, they had been observing, trying to find that young man's weakness. All humans had weaknesses and inadequacies. It was just that the Academy's disciples who had fought earlier had been too weak and had been unable to force out the young man's true strength. The young man had just casually attacked, so it was naturally impossible for him to reveal any flaws. Hong Tianliang, on the other hand, was different. No matter what, he was a genius of his generation. Although he could not compare to Ling Han and Hong Tianbu, no matter what, he was still able to force out some of that youngster's true strength. Therefore, many princes came as well. They were all waiting for Hong Tianliang to be their sword-testing stone, to create opportunities for them. Ling Han had arrived very early. He sat on a thick branch that was very high off the ground, and had a very wide field of vision. The Calabash brothers naturally all sat beside him, with snacks in their mouths. Even the Tsundra third brother was no exception. Obviously, he had been led astray by Ling Han. That old man is also a powerhouse of the immortal path and is standing on the first step, second brother said. Ling Han nodded. That old man should be in the foundational realm. However, previously he had heard that the foundational realm was divided into the foundation of humanity and the foundation of heavenly Tao, but he did not know what realm the old man was in. Oh, I remember now. Eldest brother clapped his hands. The first step of the immortal path is indeed the foundational realm, which builds the foundation of the immortal path. Different people build different foundations. The most common foundation is the foundation of humanity. However, when the foundation of humanity is completed, one can actually rush to a higher realm. But some people are talented. After building the foundation of humanity, they can build another foundation, which is called the foundation of heavenly Tao. And some people are blessed by nature. They can break through the limit and build the third foundation, which is the foundation of extreme Tao. The more foundation you build, the more solid your immortal path foundation will be. In the future, you will be able to rush to a higher realm and break through more limits. Ling Han nodded. No wonder the rumors said that Cui Zhenhai built the foundation of humanity and Chen Fengyan most likely built the foundation of heavenly Tao. So this was how they came about. He looked at the young man and activated his eye sorcery. He saw something that the mortal eye could not see. This young man's vitality was extremely strong, like a furnace, burning fiercely. His bones were all white, and 4 symbols could be seen on his chest, flashing with terrifying power. For patterns, also, he had 6 bones when he was in the ultimate bone realm. Otherwise, if he had broken through to the 5th bone, his bones would have been 7-colored. No wonder he dared to come here to block the door. He was indeed powerful. Hong Tianliang is here, someone suddenly said. Instantly, the crowd dispersed, and like stars surrounding the moon, a young man came out to welcome him. It was Hong Tianliang. After not seeing him for a few months, Hong Tianliang's aura seemed even more profound. But occasionally, a little of it would leak out, but it was as turbulent as the tide. Ling Han took a look, and had already understood Hong Tianliang's cultivation level. 3 bones. This cultivation speed was really fast. But even if that young man suppressed his cultivation to the ultimate bone realm, 6 bones would beat 3 bones. After all, Hong Tianliang had not broken through the true limit in the meridian opening and blood transformation realms. Hong Tianliang, however, was full of confidence. He quickly walked in front of the old man and the young man and stopped. "You are also from Emperor Capital Academy?" the young man asked. "Hong Tianliang, I graduated from Emperor Capital Academy." Hong Tianliang nodded. The young man was slightly surprised. "You are not Hong Tianbu, nor are you Ling Han." Hong Tianliang immediately revealed an angry expression. "What did you mean? Did you think that only these 2 were worthy of being your opponent?" "I am Hong Tianliang," he emphasized. The young man smiled and said, "Seeing that you can barely be considered an opponent, I will tell you my name. Luo Jintang." Hong Tianliang said coldly, "Let's fight. You're at 3 bones. If I only suppress my cultivation base to the ultimate bone realm, you might not be able to block one of my attacks." Luo Jintang pondered. "How about this? I'll suppress my strength to 3 bones as well." Hong Tianliang's expression became even uglier. He, who was 3 bones, definitely had the battle strength of 5 bones. In fact, many of the 5 bones were not his opponent. But Luo Jintang actually said that he could not take one move from him. How could he not be angry? How could there be so many geniuses in this world? Did he think that everyone was Hong Tianbu or Ling Han? "You are boasting like this. If you lose later, it will be very embarrassing," he said calmly, but his anger was burning. Chapter 3443. Luo Jintang crooked his finger. "Make your move." Hong Tianliang took a deep breath. The bones in his body were glowing faintly. He curled his body slightly, as though he had turned into a ferocious beast. "Interesting." Luo Jintang revealed a surprised expression. "This is the Earth Spirit Tyrannical Beast art." Hong Tianliang's expression changed. "You actually recognize this technique of mine?" This was imparted to him by Hong Tianbu, and it was obtained from an ancient site. How could this person recognize it? It's not like it's some ancient art. What's so strange about recognizing it? Luo Jintang said indifferently. Hong Tianliang snorted. "Boasting shamelessly. I'll let you know the price of speaking arrogantly." He charged out and punched at Luo Jintang. A strange scene appeared. The earth twisted and a stone golem broke through the earth behind Luo Jintang. It also swung its fists at Luo Jintang. This stone man was much taller, at least 30 meters tall. His fist was even bigger than Luo Jintang's entire body. Unexpectedly, he could also communicate with high-level energy. His entire fist was wrapped in a faint black light. Luo Jintang smiled faintly and casually threw a punch behind him. Pang! The force of the punch landed, and the stone man immediately shattered. At this moment, Hong Tianliang had already arrived. Luo Jintang kicked out, aiming straight for Hong Tianliang's face. It was an obvious humiliation. He could clearly use his feet to disperse the stone golem's attack, and then use his fist to deal with Hong Tianliang, but he just had to do it the other way around. The intention of this humiliation was extremely obvious. Hong Tianliang roared angrily, his fist slamming down fiercely. Bam! The fist and leg collided, instantly triggering an energy wave that spread out in all directions. Then, Hong Tianliang staggered back, only coming to a stop after taking 11 steps back. "This is the power of your 3 bones." Hong Tianliang's face was filled with shock. "Not bad." Luo Jintang nodded. Hong Tianliang's face was full of seriousness. 3 bones against 3 bones, and he was inferior in terms of strength. That meant that his opponent's foundation was stronger than his. However, he was not afraid to fight. Although strength was the most important part of one's combat strength, it was not everything. Again! He launched another attack, and as he punched out, more stone golems emerged from the ground and punched out at Luo Jintang. They had to be on guard, because the golem's fist was surrounded by high-level energy. If they were hit by it, it would be no laughing matter. However, one could see how powerful Luo Jintang was. A casual punch from him could shatter the stone man, and with a loud shout, The power of the sound waves was terrifying and could similarly shatter the stone man. After blocking a few moves, he began to counterattack. Bang bang bang. Although he was tall and slender, his attacks were extremely domineering, and he was like a raging bull that went on a rampage. The moment he displayed his prowess, Hong Tianliang immediately fell into a disadvantageous position. In just 100 moves, he was sent flying by a single punch. If it was a life and death battle, he would naturally be able to continue fighting. But if it was just a spar, his loss was extremely obvious. His face was filled with sadness and disappointment, but he had no choice but to say, "I lost." In the beginning, only Hong Tianbu had been able to suppress him, and then Ling Han had appeared. Although there were many geniuses in the monster race, they were a different race after all. Moreover, everyone knew that the monster race was extremely powerful below the celestial path, so it was normal for them to be inferior to him. In any case, there was still a long way to go. But now, Luo Jintang had appeared and defeated him very easily. This seriously hurt his heart. Hong Tianliang's mental fortitude was already very strong. He had endured the blows from Hong Tianbu and Ling Han, but the same thing could not happen more than 3 times. This blow had completely destroyed his fighting spirit. He turned around and left in a daze. Luo Jintang smiled faintly and didn't take it to heart. He sat down cross-legged again as if nothing had happened. This Luo Jintang is really unfathomable. Hong Tianliang actually wasn't able to force him to use his true strength. The 13th prince frowned slightly. "Your Highness, since the other party's strength is unfathomable, it's better not to be rash. It's fine if you win, but if you lose, it will be a huge blow to your prestige," an advisor said. The 13th prince shook his head. "When Cui Zhangyun was being domineering, I didn't attack him because I didn't want to. In the end, I missed a great opportunity. This is a test from Father. Even if I lose, it will at least show that I have the courage to fight, which will greatly increase my score in Father's heart." "Qianji, you don't understand. Father's strength is unparalleled in the world. As long as he says to let me inherit the throne, then even if I'm an idiot, I can still sit firmly on the throne. Your Highness is wise." That advisor quickly flattered. The 13th prince made up his mind and immediately walked toward Luo Jintang. The 13th prince is moving. Is he going to challenge Luo Jintang? He's the son of the sacred emperor. His strength is definitely extraordinary. The 13th prince is heroic. After whispering for a while, the crowd immediately cheered for the 13th prince. The 13th prince had a smile on his face and nodded at the people around him, appearing calm. Ling Han was also quite interested. He only knew that the eldest imperial prince possessed a divine physique and had now advanced into the mystery-seeking tier. Meanwhile, the 7th imperial prince was proficient in spiritual energy and had reached the so-called Great Accomplishment tier. Now, there was another imperial prince who was ranked near the top who was about to make a move, which made him feel a bit of anticipation. He used his ocular technique and saw that the 13th prince's bones were colorful and there were 5 inscription patterns on his chest. 5 bones that had broken through to the peak of the engravement realm. The 13th prince hadn't entered the enlightening realm yet. Otherwise, there would be aperture lights around his body. Now that he couldn't see any, it was obvious that he was still in the engravement realm. Luo Jintang opened his eyes but didn't stand up. He asked the 13th prince, "The current prince?" The 13th prince smiled faintly. "I'm Chen Wangxiang, ranked 13th. So it's the 13th prince." Luo Jintang finally stood up. "The son of the sacred emperor. I wonder how strong he is." "I'm in the 5-vein realm," the 13th prince said. Luo Jintang nodded. "I'm in the 4-vein realm, so I don't need to suppress my cultivation. I can fight to my heart's content." "Please, please." After exchanging pleasantries, the two sides immediately attacked and began a fierce battle. The 13th prince was the son of the sacred emperor and was ranked near the top, so he naturally inherited some of Qin Fengyan's bloodline. He was very strong, but he was completely different from the 7th prince. He specialized in close combat, punching, elbowing, and kneeling. His attacks were ever-changing, as if every part of his body could be a weapon. Luo Jintang used a set of palm techniques. It was moderate and calm, but his defense was very stable. Both sides tested each other for a while before using their ultimate moves. The battle became extremely intense. Ling Han watched with great interest. Both of them weren't weak, and they were both in the engravement realm. They had their own unique fighting styles. It was worth learning from. Chapter 34-45. The fire dragon attacked, but the ninth prince did not dodge and directly rushed forward. Boom, the raging flames swept past, and the skin on his body turned scarlet red. It was obvious that he had been burned, but he did not feel it at all, and continued to charge towards Luo Jintang like a mad bull, intending to use the most barbaric manner to knock down his opponent. Ling Han was also a little surprised. This guy had cultivated his physique to such a terrifying level that even high-level fire energy could not burn him. His body has fused with the deep-sea black iron, and his body is extremely cold. To a large extent, his weakness of fear of fire has been solved, eldest baby commented. Fourth baby was disdainful. If I spit out a stream of fire, I guarantee that he will not be able to withstand it. The Calabash brothers nodded in agreement. They all had innate divine bodies, and the flames that fourth baby spat out were naturally far more powerful than ordinary high-level energy. Luo Jintang retreated continuously, unable to fight back. Seeing this scene, everyone became excited, and they waved their flags and shouted. He was indeed the son of the sacred emperor, one of the top 10 princes. He was too powerful. Ling Han was not optimistic about the ninth prince's chances, because Luo Jintang was too calm and relaxed. It was obvious that he did not understand the ninth prince's mystical ability, which was why he only dodged and did not attack. However, the situation could not continue like this. Sure enough, after a few dozen moves, Luo Jintang smiled and suddenly counterattacked. Bang! The ninth prince suddenly staggered and almost fell. What was going on? The crowd's cheers immediately stopped. There seemed to be signs of a comeback. The ninth prince steadied himself and looked at Luo Jintang. He frowned and said, I weigh more than 1,000,000 pounds, and I use my secret power to increase my weight by 100 times. You can actually affect me. Many people were so shocked that they spat out. Weighing more than 1,000,000 pounds, was he still human? Ling Han was not surprised. The ninth prince had fused with the deep-sea black iron, and it could be said that the bones in his body had been replaced by the deep-sea black iron. The density of the deep-sea black iron was astonishing, because it was constantly under the pressure of the deep sea, and after hundreds or thousands of years, it was naturally compressed extremely tightly. In theory, the deep-sea black iron could not be obtained by human strength because no one could reach such a depth. Only when the world itself changed and the sea turned into mulberry fields could the deep-sea black iron appear. The strange thing was that Luo Jintang was able to affect the ninth prince's balance. Luo Jintang smiled. It would naturally be difficult for me to move your highness. However, it is not difficult to do so with your highness's own strength. Hearing this, Ling Han suddenly understood. This was because Luo Jintang had grasped the rhythm of the ninth prince's pulse. Therefore, as long as he used a small amount of strength, he could affect the ninth prince. This was the so-called 4 tails against 1,000 caddies. It was also a kind of frequency attack. Ling Han couldn't help but look at Luo Jintang. This was the first person he had seen who could use a frequency attack. This piqued his curiosity and made him want to spar with him. The ninth prince pondered for a moment before saying, It's not easy for you to think of a way to deal with me in such a short period of time. Your highness flatters me. Luo Jintang bowed slightly, appearing very modest. But if you think you can defeat me like this, you are too naive. The ninth prince charged forward once more. Luo Jintang was already very confident. When the ninth prince closed in, he stretched out a hand and pushed back with just the right amount of strength. The ninth prince stumbled once more. His attack instantly dissipated, and he appeared to be in a rather sorry state. He didn't rush to attack and just watched quietly. In reality, the ninth prince's bones were forged from deep-sea black iron, which made his defense incomparably tyrannical. Even if he took a few punches or palms, he would still be fine. Thus, Luo Jintang didn't directly attack and just let the ninth prince fall to the ground. Ling Han rubbed his chin. How was he going to deal with the ninth prince's defense? He could attack with frequency. As long as he persisted in attacking with frequency, no matter how hard it would still be destroyed. In theory, even divine metal would crumble one day when it was attacked with frequency. It was just that this would take a very long time, so long that Ling Han wouldn't be able to look forward to it even if he died of old age. On the other hand, attacking with frequency would require one's fist to collide with the ninth prince's body, and there was a higher chance that one's fist would be smashed into pieces first. With the ninth prince's physique, it would take a very long time to injure or even kill him. Therefore, for the sake of efficiency, it was better to use the heavenly rune jade. Even if the ninth prince's entire body was made of deep-sea black iron, it would still be useless. The ninth prince would definitely have a hole in his body or even be smashed into pieces. While he was pondering, the ninth prince kept suffering setbacks. His flaws had been discovered by Luo Jintang, and he kept falling over. He couldn't even get close to Luo Jintang, so how could he win? Even if the ninth prince's physique was so strong that he wouldn't have to worry about falling over for a short period of time, how humiliating was it for a prince to keep falling over flat ground? The ninth prince roared angrily and pounced out again. Luo Jintang used the same trick again and struck out with his palm, wanting to make the ninth prince fall over again. However, just as he stretched out his hand, he let out a muffled groan as blood appeared on his fist. He frowned. He clearly hadn't seen the ninth prince make a move, so how could he be injured? Otherwise, no matter if the ninth prince raised his hand, leg, or even spat out an attack from his mouth, he would be able to defend himself. Boom, the ninth prince punched out, and Luo Jintang quickly retreated. Understood. Luo Jintang nodded. This was the ninth prince using the opened acupoints to attack him. Thus, the ninth prince didn't need to raise his hand or move his leg, and a mysterious force would shoot out from the acupoints, making the attack unpredictable. Was this cheating? Only those who had reached the enlightening realm could open their acupoints. However, the ninth prince had still suppressed his strength, and it was within the range of the engravement realm. Jingning, continue, the old man at the side suddenly said. Luo Jintang nodded. So what if the ninth prince had used an enlightening realm technique? He could just treat it as the ninth prince having another divine ability. He was invincible in the same realm, so what was there to be afraid of? Kill. He finally became serious. His eyes shone with a divine light, and his entire aura changed. The golden bell appeared on his body again, but this time, it was imbued with half an ancient word. It was clearly only half a word, but it emitted an incomparably majestic aura, as if the entire heavens wanted to bow down to him. The ninth prince's fist arrived, and Luo Jintang didn't dodge or evade. The two fists collided, and the golden bell trembled slightly. However, the ninth prince didn't absorb any more of its energy. Luo Jintang roared again and launched a fierce counterattack. Peng, peng, peng. He swung his fists repeatedly, pouring out attacks on the ninth prince. This kind of fighting style was the ninth prince's favorite. He laughed loudly and fought head-on without dodging. However, after dozens of attacks, the ninth prince's expression changed drastically, and blood seeped out of his arms. Chapter 3446. The ninth prince was injured. In a head-on confrontation, the ninth prince, who was known for his defense, was actually injured. God, this was too hard to accept. Admit it. Luo Jintang was no longer crazy. He was calm and indifferent. The golden bell that protected him also disappeared, especially that half-ancient character. When it disappeared, the big stone that was pressing down on everyone's heart was finally removed, and everyone's breathing resumed. The ninth prince still had the strength to fight, but his strongest defense had been broken. What was the point of continuing to fight? Moreover, he had already used an enlightening realm technique. It would be too embarrassing if he continued to fight. He nodded at Luo Jintang and turned to leave. He was too ashamed to say anything. Ling Han was curious and asked, "What's the origin of that character?" That guy's ancestor must have been an amazing person. This is a kind of Tao inheritance, and we can borrow a trace of that person's Tao will, eldest baby said first. Fourth baby and fifth baby were very depressed. They had been interrupted. The two babies continued to encourage him. When they were about to say something different, they heard sixth baby say, "This kind of Tao inheritance must be that the ancient ancestor didn't die. That lucky descendant can obtain such an ability. It's like a divine ability." Damn, they had been interrupted again. Fourth baby and fifth baby were even more depressed. Even eldest baby said that it was amazing. Luo Jintang's ancestor must have been extraordinary. Most importantly, such an important person was still alive. Ling Han was comparing in his heart. Could he break the other's ability? That ancient character was too scary, and he didn't want to face it. "Dad, don't worry," second baby comforted him. "This kind of Tao inheritance is equivalent to having a trace of the ancient ancestor's might. It will indeed affect anyone." Second baby was still the most considerate. Moreover, the awakening of the ancient ancestor's legacy of the path can only happen in the inscription realm, third baby said. Inscribing patterns in the organs and merging the path can trigger the legacy of the path lying dormant in the body. Therefore, this is a method of the inscription realm. Ling Han nodded. He hadn't entered the inscription realm yet, so he lacked an offensive and defensive method. He was naturally at a disadvantage. However, what if a life and death battle erupted between him and Luo Jintang? Firstly, he wouldn't have suppressed his cultivation, and secondly, he wouldn't have hidden the ancient characters. I'll just use the heavenly rune jade to settle it. Only then did Luo Jintang sit down and start treating the wound on his hand while continuing to accept challenges. Some people wanted to take advantage of him, but they were defeated in one move. Everyone's morale was extremely low. Could it be that no one could suppress Luo Jintang? Then how would Emperor Capital College survive in the future? Who would still want to enter? There was one thing that he and Chen Fengyan shared in common, and that was that the more chaotic the world was, the more they needed to be united and to strengthen their fists. Otherwise, if they were like a plate of loose sand, they would only be defeated one by one. Therefore, he could not allow Luo Jintang to destroy Xianbei country's current situation. Then, just as he was about to jump down from the tree, he suddenly stopped and looked into the distance. In the blink of an eye, a tall and slender man arrived gracefully, as if he was riding the wind. Hongtian Step Hongtianyu is back. It's Hongtian Steps. The others also discovered it, and all of them cried out. Once Hongtian Steps arrives, he will definitely defeat this person. If it's Hongtian Steps, he will definitely be able to do it. Everyone was full of confidence in Hongtian Steps. Ling Han knew that Hongtian Steps had always been exploring various historical sites, and this should be an opportunity that he had obtained. But second baby also said that it was filled with evil nature, so he did not know if this was a good thing or a bad thing for Hongtian Steps. While they were talking, an hour passed by quietly. Hongtian Steps, let's fight. Luo Jintang said loudly. After such a long time, not only did he adjust his body's condition, he also adjusted his mentality. So what if it was Hongtian Steps? Today he would destroy his legend. Hongtian Steps was incomparably calm and said faintly, "Okay." Hong, starlight flashed on his body. This was his opened aperture, and it resonated with heaven and earth. "I am at the opening realm, I will seal myself to inscription patterns." As he spoke, the starlight on his body immediately dimmed. Luo Jintang's expression changed, and waves appeared on his face. Chapter 3447. Hong Tianbu was only 25 or 26 years old, similar to him, but in terms of cultivation level, he had already surpassed him by a large margin. From this point, even if Hong Tianbu did not suppress his cultivation level, the two could still be considered a fair battle. Who asked you to be lacking in talent and slow in cultivation? But on what basis did the other party advance so rapidly? If there were no treasured trees or rare plants in the prison, it would indeed be greatly affected, but because of the environment of heaven and earth, the outside world also did not have many treasured fruits or rare plants, so on what basis did this guy surpass him? This was a backward land of martial art. How could such a monster appear? Luo Jintang took a deep breath, suppressing the distracting thoughts in his heart, and said, "Please advise me." Hong Tianbu smiled faintly, taking a step forward, pointing out a finger, pressing it towards Luo Jintang's forehead. Luo Jintang could not help but reveal an angry expression. "You are looking down on me too much." He gave a light shout, and a golden bell had already appeared on his body, covered with many characters, but not that half an ancient character. Hong Tianbu pointed down. "Pa." The golden bell immediately shattered. "What?" Luo Jintang silently said, his eyes filled with astonishment. This was too exaggerated. He retreated in shock, and Hong Tianbu did not follow up with another attack, but instead said indifferently, "Use your strongest technique, or you will not be able to block 3 of my moves." This confidence, this domineeringness. Everyone's blood was instantly ignited, and they all became excited, shouting in unison. Other than the Sacred Emperor, they still had Hong Tianbu, and also Ling Han. Luo Jintang could not help but be convinced. The other had only used a light finger to break through his golden bell defense. This was who knew how many times stronger than the 9th prince, not using any mystical ability, just a finger. He immediately used all his strength, his blood and chi were already boiling, and the golden bell reappeared, half an ancient character floating out, as if it had transcended time and space, and there was a kind of supreme will circulating. Only now did Hong Tianbu reveal a solemn expression, but he was still incomparably confident, his hands behind his back, like a senior guiding a junior. Luo Jintang attacked with the golden bell, and with a loud shout, the protective golden bell actually flew up from his head, and then enveloped towards Hong Tianbu. This also worked? Wasn't that used for protection? Why did it seem to have become a weapon now? The golden bell covered Hong Tianbu's head, and the half-ancient character emitted an aura that could suppress the ages. The speed at which the barrier descended was not fast, but even someone with 10 times the speed of sound would not be able to escape. The reason was because of the half-ancient character on the barrier, which made it impossible for anyone to even think about dodging. Hong Tianbu smiled and said, "If it's really this senior who makes a move, then I can only be crushed. But you're only in the engravement realm. How strong can this borrowed power be? Enlighten your apertures? I can sweep away all enlightened apertures in the engravement realm. In front of me, this is nothing." He struck out with his palm, and a ball of flame flickered in the center of his palm. His attack was strangely fast, and before anyone could see it clearly, his palm had already pressed against the golden bell. With a crack, the golden bell was broken. Hiss, even with the support of half an ancient character, Hong Tianbu's battle prowess was too terrifying. Ling Han used his eye sorcery and caught some clues. He was shocked and looked at Second Baby in disbelief. Second Baby nodded and said, "That is indeed an eye. That person has an eye on his hand. Could it be the Pedi race? The Pedi race's arms are long and reach the ground. They don't look like this. That's the green-eyed race. Although the green-eyed race's eyes can grow on any part of their body, their entire body is blue. Only their eyes are green. That's not it either." The Calabash brothers started discussing, but they did not come to a unanimous conclusion. Second Baby shook his head. "That is the eye of an immemorial beast." "What?" The 6 children exclaimed in unison. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Sixth Baby was naturally ignored. Immemorial beasts are so high and mighty. Even if they die, they will either go to the starry tomb or burn their bodies. They will never leave their corpses for future generations. Eldest Baby shook his head. Second Baby added, "I also saw that there was a sword mark on that eye. It was a very deep wound." Second Baby, you mean that an immemorial beast was injured by an expert, and one of its eyes was cut off? Fourth Baby exclaimed. There shouldn't be many in the entire universe who can injure an immemorial beast. Fifth Baby also shouted. Second Baby nodded. If not, how could an enlightening realm cultivator control the eye of an immemorial beast? It was because the eye was injured that he fused with it. Just as the children were talking, Hong Tianbu had already started his counterattack. Without the support of the ancient characters, Luo Jintang's strength was barely comparable to the early stage of the enlightening realm. He was no match for Hong Tianbu at all. In just a few moves he was defeated. There was no excuse. I've lost. Luo Jintang sighed. I've long heard of the twin prides of the imperial capital. Brother Hong is a genius who can suppress the heavens. I didn't believe it before the battle, but after this battle, I'm convinced. Hong Tianbu smiled faintly and looked at Ling Han. Twin prides? Whoever gets the title is qualified to be on the same level as me. He suddenly said to Ling Han, Ling Han, do you think you can be on the same level as me? His voice was clear. Although it was not very loud, it reverberated in everyone's heart. This was an indescribable dominance. Are you worthy to be on the same level as me? One had to know that Ling Han had repeatedly defeated the geniuses of the demon race. His talent and strength had already been recognized, which was why he was called the twin prides of the imperial capital. In the past, he was only known as the second of Hong Tianbu. Now, Hong Tianbu was questioning in public whether Ling Han was worthy to be on the same level as him. How should he answer? If the answer was yes, then when Hong Tianbu issued a challenge, how could Ling Han respond? No matter how strong he was, how could he be a match for an enlightening realm cultivator? To ask Hong Tianbu to seal his own cultivation? What a joke, you're already on the same level as me, and you still want me to suppress my cultivation. But the answer was no. No matter what the reason was, he had to admit in public that he was inferior to Hong Tianbu. Then, no matter how great Ling Han's achievements were in the future, this scene would be remembered by everyone. People would dig up and say that Hong Tianbu was stronger. This was forcing him to abdicate. Ling Han smiled faintly. Hong Tianbu was indeed Hong Tianbu. He was obviously bullying the weak, but he covered it up with a kind of magnanimity, making it impossible for people to find fault with him. He leaped off the ground and strode towards Hong Tianbu, stopping 10 feet in front of him. The mountain breeze blew past, and the corners of their clothes fluttered at the same time, elegant and out of the world. Indeed, the title of twin prides is not suitable. Ling Han nodded. When the crowd heard this, they all thought that Ling Han was admitting defeat and couldn't help but shake their heads. You can't blame him. Hong Tianbu has already entered the enlightening realm. Ling Han is definitely not his match. This is called self-preservation. Yes, take a step back and you'll see the world. Where there's life, there's hope. There's no hope, idiot. Many people agreed with Ling Han's temporary tolerance. As a man, he had to be flexible. However, Ling Han's next words almost made everyone fall. How are you worthy to be on the same level as me? He snorted, and a terrifying aura circulated in his right hand. Even absolute fairness was unable to suppress his cultivation. In his chest, one after another, inscription patterns of dark destruction shone, and his power began to rise rapidly. He used the primordial fierce beast's eye. Ling Han was waiting for this moment. He roared, and with a wave of his right hand, Xiao, the heavenly rune jade, immediately shot out. 9 times the speed of sound. Hong Tianbu's reaction was astonishingly fast, and he hurriedly used his spear to block. Peng! But this secret-seeking realm ritual implement was smashed by the heavenly rune jade, and it instantly exploded like an umbrella. The heavenly rune jade's momentum didn't stop, and it continued to collide with Hong Tianbu. Peng! Hong Tianbu's entire body was sent flying. However, with the long spear in his hand blocking the attack, and with his cultivation having recovered to the 6-vein realm, this attack only caused his chest to explode, but it didn't kill him. Ling Han also let out a muffled groan, and his entire body flew into the air. Hong Tianbu also launched a counterattack, and with a star-shattering finger, he similarly heavily injured him. Pa! The 2 young prodigies fell to the ground at the same time, both bleeding profusely, and for a moment, neither could stand up. Both sides were injured. No one had expected this result. It wasn't Hong Tianbu who crushed Ling Han and monopolized the position of the heaven-suppressing monster, nor was it Ling Han who overtook him and overturned a veteran expert. However, if one were to really think about it, Hong Tianbu was in the Enlightenment realm, and he also had the cultivation of the Engravement realm during battle. With such a comparison, who was more monstrous? Dad! The 7 Calabash brothers all pounced forward, and it was still sixth baby who retrieved the heavenly rune jade, while the other milk babies guarded around Ling Han, all of them brimming with murderous intent. Hong Tianbu wasn't alone, and he had many powerful subordinates under him. Now they all rushed out to protect him. After a while, Ling Han and Hong Tianbu both struggled to get up. Although their injuries were very serious, their eyes were filled with the desire to fight. "Let's go," Hong Tianbu said in a low voice, and with the support of a few subordinates, he quickly left. Ling Han also wanted to leave, but the old man from before came up to him with a smile and said, "Little friend, can you part with that hammer and give it to me?" If possible, I would also like to buy that piece of jade." The 7 Calabash brothers acted as if they were facing a great enemy. This was an expert on the path of immortality, even if he was only in the Foundation establishment realm. Ling Han smiled and said, "I'm sorry, I still have great use for these 2 items." The old man nodded, but he didn't move. He was in an intense mental struggle, whether or not he should make a move to snatch it. If he made a move, Ling Han definitely wouldn't be able to stop him. However, this was the imperial capital, and if he made a move to snatch a junior's item, he would definitely be suppressed by Chen Fengyan. Not to mention anything else, just the Green Dragon Array spirit was not something he could match. He had some friendship with Cui Zhenhai, and the 2 of them had often sparred with each other in the past. However, if he were to obtain a 1-star magic tool, his strength would definitely skyrocket, and it wouldn't be difficult for his battle prowess to double. Then, would he be able to rival the Array spirit? He was hesitating, weighing the pros and cons. If he failed, he would have to serve his sentence in the imperial capital like Cui Zhenhai. A dignified expert of the immortal path was serving his sentence in the territory of mortals. Isn't this a huge joke? After hesitating for a long time, the old man finally suppressed the impulse and greed in his heart. He smiled at Ling Han and turned to leave. Luo Jintang hurriedly followed, and the old man and the young man soon disappeared into the distance. End of this chapter. Chapter 3450. With the departure of the old man, the pressure that had been weighing down on Ling Han also disappeared without a trace. "Old man, I'll definitely beat you up in the future," Ling Han said in his heart. If the old man had made a move just now, then when Ling Han had enough power in the future, he would definitely get rid of this old bastard. But now that the old man had given him a scare, then he would also give the old man a scare in the future. With the help of a few milk babies, Ling Han returned to his residence. With the strength of the Bottle Gourd brothers, carrying Ling Han back was naturally a piece of cake. Ling Han concocted some medicine and began to recover. This time, his injuries were not light. In the end, Hong Tianyun had unleashed battle prowess of 6 veins, which was originally enough to kill a cultivator in the pinnacle bone tier. However, Ling Han's battle prowess had far surpassed that of a cultivator in the pinnacle bone tier. Thus, this strike had not been able to kill Ling Han, but it had still caused him severe injuries. "Your Highness, isn't it too rash to attack in the capital?" In the 7th prince's residence, an advisor was advising the 7th prince. The 7th prince waved his hand. "This brat already knows that the beast tide that destroyed Hidden Tiger City was instigated by me. If I don't silence him, how can I be at ease? There's no proof. How can His Majesty believe his one-sided words? And how would Lord Yang dare to summon your Highness to stand trial?" The advisor continued. "No one would have thought that there would be a green dragon formation in the capital. The formation spirit seems to be everywhere. If the formation spirit catches your Highness committing murder, then there's really no way to quibble." The 7th prince frowned. Father has a special trust in that brat, so if that brat goes to complain, Father might really investigate. "I'm not worried, but can you guarantee that no information will be leaked?" The advisor was immediately speechless. Under the majesty of the Saint Emperor, who could not be shaken. Moreover, that brat is seriously injured this time, so it's the best time to get rid of him. The 7th Imperial Prince said, a hint of fear in his eyes. The might of Ling Han's heavenly pattern jade was too terrifying, and even Hong Tianbu was heavily injured by it. If it landed on his body, it was impossible for him to survive. If it was an ordinary flying sword or knife, He only needed to use his telekinesis to form a net and easily block it. But the heavenly pattern jade could weigh tens of thousands of kilograms. How could he block it? Thinking of the heavenly pattern jade, he revealed a look of greed. With his telekinesis and the heavenly pattern jade, how could he unleash terrifying power? He believed that he would be instantly killed even in the secret realm. He no longer hesitated. He had to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Ling Han and take the heavenly pattern jade. Coincidentally, Ling Han had just used absolute fairness, and was also heavily wounded. If he made a move now, it would definitely be a piece of cake. Ling Han consumed it orally and applied it externally. After treating his wounds, he said, "I no longer have the deterrence of absolute fairness. Tonight, those demons and monsters will definitely make a move on me. Father, hide in the spirit-nourishing gourd." "We'll find a place to hide," second brother suggested. Eldest brother rolled his eyes. "What are you afraid of? If one comes, we'll kill one. If two comes, we'll kill both." Fourth brother nodded. "Kill." Fifth brother nodded. Ling Han shook his head. "No, let's go somewhere else." "Where?" the 7 children asked together. "Princess Bai Zhao's." Ling Han smiled. "Why go to Princess Bai Zhao's?" "Because Princess Bai Zhao was in the secret realm. To be able to reach such a height at such a young age, her combat power was absolutely amazing. Therefore, entering Princess Bai Zhao's residence, unless an expert of the immortal path intervened, there was no other way. Then would Princess Bai Zhao attack Ling Han? She wanted to, but she was a demon. If something happened to Ling Han in her residence, the demons would not be able to withstand Xin Fengyan's wrath. Therefore, not only did Ling Han not have to worry about Princess Bai Zhao attacking him, he could even use her as a bodyguard. Moreover, this little demon was attracting hatred for him. Why couldn't Ling Han give her some trouble instead? "Come, let's go eat and drink for free." When the 7 children heard this, they were all excited. How could they miss such a good opportunity to eat and drink for free? Therefore, the group of 8 arrived at Princess Bai Zhao's residence in a grandiose and ostentatious manner. "What?" Princess Bai Zhao was shocked. Ling Han actually visited her residence? What the hell? "Please." She thought for a moment and asked someone to invite Ling Han in. Not long after, Ling Han brought the 7 children to the living room. "Master Ling, welcome. May I know what advice you have for me?" the demon princess said without raising her head as she sipped her tea. It was as if she was expressing that she did not welcome Ling Han. Ling Han smiled. "I don't dare to give advice. It's just that I haven't seen you for a long time and miss you. That's why I'm here today." Who is he trying to fool? Princess Bai Zhao naturally would not believe him. She looked at Ling Han's clearly bulging chest, which was wrapped in thick bandages, and immediately understood. "You were severely wounded in your battle with Hong Tianbu, and have used up absolute fairness, and are waiting to recover. Thus, an ordinary pinnacle bone tier elite would probably be able to kill you now. Thus, you have come to seek refuge with me." Ling Han smiled. "An ordinary ultimate bone realm can't kill me. It has to be an engravement realm at least." Princess Bai Zhao immediately felt like she was going crazy. Her main point was not this. She snorted. "Why should I help you?" Ling Han exclaimed. "Isn't the princess and I in love? Didn't you sleep at my place some time ago?" Nonsense. Princess Bai Zhao berated. But thinking about it again, she had indeed created the illusion that the 2 of them had spent the night together in order to incite the prince's killing intent towards Ling Han. She did not expect that she would be used by Ling Han instead. Was this a trap of one's own making? She had created a killing intent for Ling Han, but she had to be his bodyguard. How aggrieved was this? "It's not easy to take care of children. Your Highness, is there anything to eat? It doesn't have to be anything good, just some demon beast meat will do," Ling Han said with a smile. He was not polite at all. Princess Bai Zhao was so angry that she swung her sleeves and left. However, Ling Han and the others were thick-skinned. They just sat there and did not have the slightest intention of returning. They could be so shameless, but Princess Bai Zhao could not. She still ordered people to send dinner. However, this was only the beginning of her nightmare. "Your Highness, since you're treating, Don't be so stingy. Get more food. Ling Han shouted. He and the 7 children were all big eaters. Food that could fill an ordinary person's stomach was only enough to stimulate their appetite. Princess Bai Xiao was speechless. How could there be such a customer? He was too unreserved. She could only order people to prepare food and send it over. After sending it 3 times, Ling Han and the milk baby finally expressed that it was enough and that there was no need for more food. Master Ling, you've eaten and rested. It's about time to go back, right? Princess Bai Xiao asked through gritted teeth. Chapter 3451. Ling Han took a sip of the tea and praised, "Good tea." He was deliberately pretending to be deaf and mute. Princess Bai Xiao glared angrily. When she was staying at Ling Han's house, she never thought that Ling Han would one day rely on her. An eye for an eye. Her beautiful eyes flickered, and her anger suddenly turned into a smile. Master Ling, if you are willing to join the demon race, then Bai Xiao will definitely do her best to protect you. Ling Han pretended to be surprised and said, Bai Xiao, you are treating me like an outsider. What is our relationship? Do we need to be so clear? We have no relationship at all. Princess Bai Xiao had the urge to kill, but Chen Fengyan was like a huge mountain that she could only look up to. He stood above the demon race, and she did not dare to act rashly. Otherwise, it would not only be her problem, but the entire demon race would pay the price for her mistake. Damn it, he is just a small ultimate bone realm. She gritted her teeth and said, arrange a guest room for Master Ling and the children. Yes, Your Highness. A servant nodded. Ling Han then stood up and said, little fellows, let's go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. The 7 milk babies were all laughing and joking as they followed Ling Han. You heard me very clearly, Princess Bai Xiao said in her heart, and she had the urge to hit someone again. Ling Han went to Princess Bai Xiao's residence. The 7th prince was stunned. While he was shocked, he also felt an indescribable anger. Previously, when Princess Bai Xiao stayed in Ling Han's residence for a night, it already made him almost go find Ling Han and directly kill this guy. Now, you guys are returning the favor? You stayed in my house, and I'll stay in yours again. Do you really want to die? He said with hatred. When Princess Bai Xiao entered the imperial capital, she sent a clear signal that she would marry a prince to promote the relationship between the human race and the demon race. But now, Princess Bai Xiao had actually hooked up with Ling Han. What was going on? Previously, all the princes felt that they were cuckolded, but the sudden change of heaven and earth had diverted everyone's attention. However, it was different this time. It was extremely dangerous outside the imperial capital, and there was no way to divert the internal conflicts. Ling Han's openly staying in Princess Bai Xiao's residence would cause a great uproar. Your Highness, should we cancel the plan? The advisor asked. The 7th prince thought about it and said, no, this is a rare opportunity. Originally, those who wanted to kill that brat could line up, but today, I'm sure that many people won't be able to resist. Since that's the case, why don't Your Highness just sit back and watch? After all, there are people who can complete the task for Your Highness, the advisor said. The 7th prince shook his head. Although that brat is injured, his strength is still not weak. I want to see him die with my own eyes. Only then can I truly feel at ease. There was something he didn't say. Who knew if something had happened between Ling Han and Princess Bai Xiao? Therefore, he had to see Ling Han die to appease the anger in his heart. The imperial capital was destined to be lively today. Several princes had already secretly decided to take advantage of the night to make a move. Ling Han actually dared to openly stay in Princess Bai Xiao's residence. This was intolerable. It just so happened that Ling Han was seriously injured, and there was no absolute fairness anymore. Now was the best time to kill him. In the middle of the night, there were many figures outside Princess Bai Xiao's residence. From time to time, people in black clothes and masks could be seen coming and going. There were even people who climbed up a tree and were embarrassed to find that there were people staring at them. They hurriedly smiled and jumped down to find another place where they could overlook the residence. Someone couldn't help but sneak into the residence, preparing to launch a sneak attack. However, he soon saw the door open, and this person was thrown out like garbage. Soon, a second and third person sneaked in, but without exception, they all went in vertically and came out horizontally. This residence was like a bottomless pit. After people went in, there was no movement, and when they came out again, they were already unconscious. No one heard the sound of the battle at all. At first, no one noticed 1 or 2 people, but after more than 10 people were lying outside the residence, it finally attracted everyone's attention. Was this a dragon's pool or a tiger's den? The 7th prince was about to make a move himself, but he saw a figure rushing into the residence. "And 9th prince," he murmured and hurriedly stopped. The 9th prince was at the enlightenment state. If he made a move, how could a person who had lost absolute fairness and was seriously injured defend against him? Thinking of this, he naturally wouldn't rush forward, lest he attracted unnecessary trouble. However, in just an instant, there was a loud noise in the courtyard. Bang, bang, bang. Then, a hole was blasted open in the courtyard wall, and a figure flew out and lay on the ground. Although this person's face was covered, the 7th prince could tell at a glance that it was his 9th brother. How was this possible? The 9th prince was at the enlightenment state, and how many people in the capital were stronger than him? Moreover, there were only a handful of people who could defeat him in such a short period of time. Could it be that Xue Qilua was here? No, Xue Qilua had already returned to the demon clan, so there couldn't be another secret realm expert here. Xiao, just at this moment, a figure flew out from within the manor and stood proudly on the highest pavilion. She held a sword in one hand and wore a white dress that was as white as snow. As the night wind blew, the dress clung tightly to her delicate figure, outlining every detail of her perfect figure. She was as beautiful as a fairy, like a painting. The 7th prince was suffocated by her beauty, and then his eyes widened. It was Princess Bai Xiao. What? A strange thought surged in the 7th prince's mind. Could it be that the mysterious expert who defeated the 9th prince was this demon clan princess? Whoever dares to barge into my residence again will be killed without mercy, Princess Bai Xiao said coldly, like a goddess. She finally stopped concealing her cultivation, and a powerful aura circulated, making it difficult for the people outside the residence to breathe. The 7th prince no longer doubted that this was a powerhouse of the secret realm. How was this possible? The demon clan princess was only in her 20s, so how did she cultivate? This was not just a matter of cultivation resources, but also a matter of powerful martial art talent. The 7th prince's eyes narrowed. The demon clan had actually sent such a genius to the capital. Was it really that simple? If he was the demon king, would he sacrifice such a talented descendant? Princess Bai Xiao swept her gaze around, and then leaped down. Her face was full of anger. All along, she had used her personal charm to wander among the princes and nobles with ease. But now, she was forced to show her true strength. In the future, others would definitely be wary of her, and she would no longer be able to maintain her aloof status. All of this was that bastard's fault. Reading on the mobile. Chapter 3453. Jin Sanin continued, although your realms are the same, Hong Tianbu definitely has the advantage of a small realm. Moreover, he has already enlightened his apertures, so his battle awareness and experience are above yours. Under such circumstances, you were still able to fight with him until both of you were injured. That really shocked me. Thank you for the compliment, uncle. Ling Han smiled, but you didn't come here just to compliment me, did you? Jin Sanin stopped smiling and said, I want to ask you about someone. Ling Han asked. Jin Xiaohuang. Jin Sanin said, his gaze fixed on Ling Han. Ling Han spread out his hands and said, Oh, I met him once. The young emperor was this old man's grandson, but he died right after meeting you, little friend, Jin Sanin said. Then I'm sorry for your loss, uncle. Ling Han nodded. Jin Sanin ignored him and continued, I thought he was killed by a strong cultivator of the immortal path who suddenly appeared in the Arcana territory, but it turns out that he was killed even earlier. There's such a thing? Ling Han pretended to be surprised. Jin Sanin nodded. With such strength, I believe it was you. You have absolute fairness. You can pull your opponent's level to the same level as you, and in a battle of the same level, who can be your opponent? Jean Sanin said. Ling Han shook his head. Uncle, what you said is meaningless. According to what you said, as long as someone dies, it's my fault. Jean Sanin smiled and said, then I'll change the question. Where did you see the people from the Liu family? Ling Han was surprised. Of course he had seen the people from the Liu family. He had even killed them together with the people from the Jean family. I'm not sure. He shook his head. Then I'll take my leave. Jean Sanin turned and left. Uncle. Ling Han called out. Did you remember something? Jean Sanin stopped. Next time, remember to knock on the door, Ling Han said. Jean Sanin couldn't help but feel embarrassed. He snorted, leaped up, and quickly disappeared. What is this? Peaceful measures before force? Ling Han stretched lazily and did not take it to heart. He had activated the array formation when he was sleeping. If someone really dared to come, then they could forget about going back. Ninth Master, what did that brat say? As soon as Jean Sanin left the Ling family, he got into a car, and a middle-aged man in his 40s was sitting in the driver's seat. Jean Sanin snorted and said, Young Emperor and Young Sword were probably killed by that brat. The middle-aged man revealed a murderous aura and said, since Lord Jiao has confirmed it, then let's make our move and kill this brat. Jean Sanin shook his head. This old man has long since confirmed that it was that kid who did it. I'm not here to confirm it. The middle-aged man felt strange. Then why did you go to look for Ling Han? But he didn't ask. Jean Sanin explained, that kid has absolute fairness. Even the Arcana realm will be dragged to the same level by him. I have to say, that kid's combat ability is really strong at the same level. This old man is definitely not his match. Then we can send someone to exhaust him first. Let that kid use absolute fairness first, then Lord Jiao, you can make your move, the middle-aged man said. Jean Sanin glared at him. Who should we send? That kid's normal combat ability can sweep through the engravement realm. How many enlightening realm experts do we have in the Jean family? Which one of them can be sacrificed? The middle-aged man could only be embarrassed and speechless. Then what should we do? He asked after a while. Jean Sanin sneered. This is the reason why this old man came. He operated on the optical computer, and instantly, the conversation he had with Ling Han before rang out. The people sent by the Liu family were all killed. It should also be done by this kid, so this old man will hand this conversation over to the Liu family and let them make their move. If they can succeed, then it will naturally save this old man a lot of trouble. If they can't, then that evil brat will definitely use absolute fairness. This old man will then make his move easily. The middle-aged man suddenly understood and gave a thumbs up. Brilliant, truly brilliant. Jean Sanin smiled without saying anything, but his face was full of pride. After Ling Han activated the warning formation, he entered the spirit cultivation gourd to rest. After accumulating for a day, the spirit cultivation gourd was already full of mysterious energy that could improve his telekinesis. He slept in peace. Even if someone really broke in, it would be impossible for them to discover the existence of this gourd in a short time. At 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Ling Han suddenly woke up. He had received a warning that someone had broken in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ling Han counted a total of 6 people. He immediately came out of the gourd and saw that the 7 children all sat up straight, each of them full of energy. Dad, 9, 10, no, 16 people came, second baby said immediately while gesturing with his fingers. Ling Han could only be speechless. Second baby was extremely smart, but he was terrible at counting. How did he grow up? Let's go out and see these uninvited guests. Ling Han went out with the 7 children. Coincidentally, the 6 people were also coming in his direction, as if they knew where Ling Han lived. However, when they saw Ling Han's 7 people coming out to greet them, they were obviously shocked. What was going on? They were here to sneak attack, but the person in question was coming head-on. This was a little embarrassing. It's good that you came out on your own, so we won't waste time looking for you, one person said. The 6 people were all masked, and one could only judge from their height that this person was the 3rd tallest. Spread out a little, This kid has absolute fairness. The area it covers is about 100 feet, the fourth tallest person said. The 6 people really spread out and were very far from each other. Ling Han, but you killed Lu Gao, the tallest masked person shouted. Ling Han was surprised. This person was actually not from the Jin clan? He thought about it for a moment, and suddenly realized that this was Jin Sanyan's real purpose in coming to him. He smiled and did not hide it anymore. Yes, I killed him. How dare you? The 6 masked people shouted in unison. Although Lu Gao was not the most outstanding disciple of the Lu clan, he could be ranked in the top 5. Dying in the hands of Ling Han was obviously a huge loss. The third tallest masked person was the first to attack. He punched from afar, and the force turned into a light ball the size of a human head, blasting towards Ling Han. Enlightening Realm. Ling Han nodded. After knowing his strength, which Engravement Realm cultivator would dare to fight him? He quickly dodged. The battle power of the Enlightening Realm was enough to kill him. With a thought, he circulated his spiritual power. Immediately, the formation bases set up in every corner of the house were activated by him. The energy of the jade seeds was extracted, and the momentum of heaven and earth was triggered. My cultivation has been reduced. Damn, how did my cultivation get reduced too? Me too. How could this be good? The 6-man team from the Lu family was completely annihilated. Furthermore, he had met with them before this incident. This matter could not be concealed, and the Lu family would definitely find trouble with him. How could this be? Jin Sanyin felt like he was going crazy. This was a result that he had never expected, and he did not know what to do. After this night, the corpses outside the Ling family naturally caused a commotion. The Imperial Guards were mobilized, and they invited Ling Han out to conduct an investigation. Of course, with Ling Han's current strength and status, even the Imperial Guards were incomparably courteous and addressed him as a master. Ling Han spoke the truth. He was indeed only defending himself. After the Imperial Guards checked the corpses, they were shocked. These 6 people were all in the Enlightenment state. In the past, there was only one Enlightenment state cultivator in Xianbei country, and that was their Saint Emperor. Now, although there were many cultivators of the Immortal Path, the imperial capital was still very peaceful. 6 Enlightenment state cultivators appearing in one go was naturally shocking. What was even more shocking was that these 6 cultivators had all been killed by Ling Han. Just how strong was this young man? When the news spread, the entire imperial capital was in an uproar. In an instant, the debate about who was stronger and who was weaker between Hong Tianbu and Ling Han started again. Previously, the 2 of them had a fair battle, and in the end, both of them were injured. It could be considered a draw, and everyone thought that their talents were comparable, and they could be called monstrous geniuses. But now that Ling Han's battle record was out, people naturally began to doubt whether Hong Tianbu was this strong. Hong Tianbu did not have any response, as if he was disdainful. Ling Han did not care at all, and he cultivated with all his might. Heaven and earth were changing, and with each passing day, the environment would change drastically, and the speed of cultivation would increase exponentially. At this time, the awesomeness of the Monkey King's cultivation method was reflected. He had also obtained a cultivation method from the Imperial Capital Academy, and compared it with the Monkey King's cultivation method. Previously, the difference between the two's cultivation speed was about 10 times, but now, it was 15 times. Moreover, the richer the heaven and earth force, the greater the difference. It turned out that a good cultivation method had to be matched with a good environment, or else it would not be able to fully display its power. At this time, a shocking piece of news came. The trials of the 9 dragons were about to begin. At first, Ling Han did not pay much attention to it, but after seeing the news from Xianyuan Dingwa, he became very interested. According to the information that circulated, the trials of the 9 dragons had existed in the previous civilization, and it had been passed down ever since. Anyone below the immortal path could enter, and after many rounds of selection, only one person could stand out and obtain great benefits. How great would the benefits be? In the previous civilization, the saints and saintesses of the large sects would purposely suppress their cultivation, and before they stepped onto the immortal path, they would enter to obtain great opportunities. Ling Han made a prompt decision. He must go, he must go. However, he was not the only one who was interested in the trials of the 9 dragons. According to reliable sources, the top-ranked princes had already made their move, and it was said that the princess of the demon clan was also preparing to depart. Most of the participants were descendants of the immortal path cultivators who occupied ancient sects and ancient mystic realms. There was no lack of geniuses among them, and they could all appear in the trials of the 9 dragons. The world's monstrous geniuses gathered. Chapter 3455. Ling Han learned about the 9 dragons' secret realm in detail. Some information came from the hidden families, and some came from the ancient powers. After a day of preparation, he set off with the milk babies. He had dug out the foundation of the absolute fairness array. If this person left, the array would be useless here. Moreover, it would be easy for others to dig out the foundation and destroy it. After all, this array was only used to suppress one's cultivation. In fact, when he was alone, his strength wasn't affected at all. He knew that many people would be interested in his residence. Once he left, they would definitely come to check, so it was better to dig out the foundation. Ling Han kept a low profile and quietly left the city. He believed that many people wanted his life now. Even immortal path level experts would appear. Chen Fengyan's deterrence was limited to the capital. To be precise, this deterrence did not come from Chen Fengyan, but from the formation spirit of the Green Dragon Formation. Since this formation was set in the capital, how could the formation spirit leave? Therefore, Ling Han had to keep a low profile. He hurried on with his head down. From time to time, he let 6th baby run with the spirit-nurturing gourd, while the others went in to further erase their tracks. After 4 days, he arrived at the place. The 9 dragons' trial ground seemed to have appeared overnight. It was originally a plain, and then 9 mountains suddenly rose from the ground. Moreover, there was a city wall surrounding it, so one could only enter through the main gate. Ling Han was not in a hurry to enter. Who knew if someone was waiting for him at the gate? As he had expected, there were 8 people guarding the entrance. However, Ling Han let 6th baby go over to investigate and found that they were not targeting him. He also walked over. No one is allowed to enter. The people blocking the gate were very arrogant. My master said that this opportunity can only be obtained by young master, so no one is allowed to enter. That work too? Ling Han's expression was strange. Which family were these people from? They were so arrogant. Get lost. Those people all reprimanded. Someone was not convinced and wanted to force his way in. In the end, those blocking the gate attacked together and instantly killed that person. Ling Han was surprised, because there was no lack of Enlightenment Realm experts among the people blocking the door, and even the weaker ones were at the Engravement Realm. This lineup could be said to be extravagant, but now they were only used to block the door. Which hidden family, or a powerful force that suddenly emerged from an ancient site? Once this prestige was established, no one dared to barge in recklessly. Although the world was recovering faster, the cultivation of the younger generation of Xianbei country was only at the blood transformation and extreme bone realms. Even the 4 marshals might not have reached the enlightening realm, so how could they overcome this obstacle? Everyone couldn't help but take a step back. To them, what was behind the door was no longer a fortuitous encounter, but the real gates of hell. Ling Han did not bat an eyelid as he wandered around, setting up array foundations one after another. His movements were very covert. He walked to a place and pretended to look around. With a throw of his hand, the base of the array was inserted deep into the ground without attracting anyone's attention. In order to reduce the possibility of being noticed, Ling Han even let the 7 milk babies enter the vitality-nourishing gourd. He did not insert it randomly. Using his eye sorcery, he observed the terrain and combined it with the power of the heavens. The positions of the array foundations were all nodes. When the last array foundation was inserted, Ling Han buried a large number of jade seeds, then slowly walked back towards the people blocking the door. Coincidentally, a few more people came at this time. One of them was a young man, followed by 4 middle-aged men, who seemed to be his followers. My master said that in this 9 dragons trial, my young master must take first place, so you don't have to go in. The people blocking the door still used the same words as before. How dare you? You even dare to block my way? The new young man was furious. Do you know who I am? No one can enter. The people blocking the door did not give way at all. The people who were blocked earlier were all interested, and they all came over to watch. The new young man snorted. My name is Lu Long. Do you know why this place is called the 9 Dragons Secret Realm? It's set up for me. Ling Han almost stumbled. This guy was really thick-skinned. How could he say that? What, Lu Long or Ma Long? Scram, or you'll die. The people blocking the door waved their hands, their faces full of disdain. Stand behind me. Lu Long caught up to Ling Han and said, I'm very happy today. Seeing that you still have courage, I've decided to bring you in. Ling Han pointed at himself. All he had to do was activate the enhanced version of absolute fairness, and he could instantly kill these people at the door. Did he need someone to bring him? This was kind of fun. Surprised, right? Don't doubt it. This is how I like to help others, Lu Long said very narcissistically. He really could not tell. Ling Han smiled and said, All right, then thank you. Follow me, and I'll see who dares to stop me, Lu Long said proudly. Shio. The 4 middle-aged men behind him immediately jumped out and blocked the way, heading towards the door. Courting death. The people blocking the door laughed coldly. Kill without mercy. Immediately, the 2 sides started fighting fiercely. Lu Long's side was not weak. The 4 middle-aged men were all at the Awakening Realm, but they could not handle 6 Awakening Realm cultivators on the other side. It was 6 against 4, and the difference was obvious. Young master, run, one of Lu Long's men shouted. The 4 of them were held up by 6 Awakening Realm cultivators, and the other 2 Engravement Realm cultivators were closing in on Lu Long and Ling Han. The situation was very dangerous. Lu Long was not weak, but his cultivation was not high. He was only at the Extreme Bone Realm, so he would definitely be defeated by an Engravement Realm cultivator. Fuck! Lu Long spat out a curse and hurriedly broke into a run as he said, Brother, I'll bring you back next time. Now, hurry up and run. You still want to run? One of the 2 Engravement Realm cultivators went to stop Lu Long, while the other stared coldly at Ling Han. Aren't you afraid? That person asked Ling Han. Ling Han shrugged. What's the point of being afraid? It's useless. The Engravement Realm cultivator shook his head. Chapter 3457. Ling Han really had to dig the ground, but the rocks were extremely hard. He was no different from an ordinary person here. He could only walk. As he walked, the mountain seemed to have no end. No matter how high Ling Han climbed, when he looked up, it was still surrounded by clouds and fog. After walking for a long time, a road sign appeared in front of him. On it was written, Sky-reaching tree. What the hell was this? Ling Han continued to move forward with the milk babies, and soon discovered that there was an incomparably tall tree in front of them. It was indescribably thick, and there was a hole in the trunk that was big enough for a burly man to walk in easily. Do we go in from here? Ling Han touched his chin, because there was no other way to go other than this hole. Oh, what kind of tree is this? It's so tall. Second baby's neck was sore from looking up. Strange, it's not a divine tree, so how can it grow so tall? Sixth baby said. Huff huff. Seventh baby fell asleep without warning. Ling Han picked up seventh baby and was about to enter the hole when he saw someone suddenly jump over from behind. Swoosh, 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 and there was more than one. This was a trial ground, so it was normal for people to come. However, Ling Han was worried that his hatred halo would play its role and attract more hatred. Although he was not afraid of fighting, it was actually quite boring to always fight with people for no reason. Ling Han was surprised because he saw someone he knew. Jin Sen. He was so old and yet he had come to the trial. Although there was no age limit for entry, as long as one was below the celestial path, an old man who was close to or over 100 years old came to compete with young people. Wasn't he ashamed? Moreover, if the representative chosen for the trial was so old, It would not be in line with the purpose of the trial. Ling Han. Jin San naturally also noticed Ling Han, and his gaze sharpened. This group of people all stopped, but what surprised Ling Han was that the person in the lead was actually a young man who looked to be less than 30 years old. Although Jin Sanin was standing shoulder to shoulder with the other party, there was a faint hint of respect in his actions towards this person. The young man looked at Ling Han and smiled. "So you are Ling Han. I have heard of your name many times." Ling Han also smiled faintly, but did not reply. The young man's face couldn't help but sink as he said, "I originally intended to take you as a follower, but it looks like if I don't polish your arrogance first, you obviously won't be convinced." Sage Jun, he killed the young emperor and young sword. How can we let him off so easily? Jin Sanin hastily tried to persuade him. That young man was called Jin Junxing, and he was the #1 genius of the Jin family. His luck was heaven-defying. Not long ago, during the upheaval of heaven and earth, he obtained a heaven-defying opportunity. Not only did his cultivation advance, he even cultivated a divine ability. Because of this, he was confirmed as the successor of the Jin family. His status was extraordinary, and even Jin Sanin had to bow his head to him. He looked at Jin Sanin unhappily and said, "Ninth Master, killing someone is just a matter of nodding your head to the ground. But isn't it better to make an enemy submit to the might of my Jin family and make him work for my Jin family?" "Yes, Sage Jun, you are right." Jin Sanin lowered his head. His position in the family was inferior to the young man's, and his strength was also inferior. Therefore, he naturally could not stand up straight. Jin Junxing once again looked at Ling Han. "You have two choices. Kneel down and submit, or I will beat you into submission and then you will submit to me." He was extremely arrogant. Ling Han was only at the extreme bone realm, while he was at the awakening realm. Furthermore, he had cultivated a divine ability. The difference in their battle strength was like the difference between heaven and earth. Ling Han's expression was indifferent. Of course he wasn't afraid of Jin Junxing. If he used his absolute fairness, defeating him would only be a matter of a few moves. The problem was that the Jin family had so many people. Would 10 minutes be enough? Everyone knew that he had absolute fairness. Would they still foolishly allow him to do as he pleased? What? You want to rely on absolute fairness to make a comeback? Jin Junxing shook his finger. "Let's not talk about the fact that with my speed, it's impossible for you to pull me into the formation. Even if you can, with my battle strength, I can still abuse you like a dog." Ling Han laughed in spite of himself. Within the same realm, who could abuse him? "Then let's try fighting at the same realm," he said. Jin Junxing arrogantly said, "You cultivate slowly, so why should I accommodate you? Cut the crap. My patience is limited and time is precious. I don't have time to waste on you. Hurry up and make your decision." Ling Han rolled up his sleeves. "Since you're sincerely looking for a beating, I'll help you." "Stubborn fool." Jin Junxing sneered and casually punched out, smashing towards Ling Han. Ling Han wanted to dodge, but he discovered that his body had suddenly frozen in place. Only his telekinesis was still circulating. What was going on? A screen of light suddenly appeared in front of him, and there were words written on it. "Someone has challenged you. Because their realm is higher than yours, you can choose to suppress the opponent's realm. The smaller the suppression, the better the reward you will obtain." Ling Han was astonished. There was actually such a thing? This was the Origin Magnet Mountain, and the Origin Magnet Stone was one of the materials used to create the formation's foundation. Could it be that this entire mountain was a giant formation, and the formation spirit was communicating with him? You still have 10 seconds to consider. If you do not make a decision within the time limit, you will be randomly selected. Another line of words appeared on the screen. Ling Han was sure that although this screen was visible to his eyes, it was actually directly affecting his sea of consciousness. Therefore, although a long time had passed, the surrounding environment was still frozen, and the flow of time was incomparably slow. No, it shouldn't be said that the flow of time had slowed down, but rather that his consciousness was circulating at an extremely high speed. 9, 8, 7. The screen was currently counting down. Ling Han thought about it and said with his divine sense, then suppress it to the first level of inscription patterns. The moment he finished thinking, the motionless screen immediately returned to normal. Ling Han saw that Jin Juanxing's complexion had changed. Clearly, the other party had also received the notification that his cultivation had been suppressed. However, Jin Juanxing immediately regained his confident expression. Even if his engravement realm had been suppressed, he was still an entire realm higher than Ling Han. Moreover, he had also grasped a sacred art. A mere ant could be crushed to death with a single finger. He snorted, raised his right hand, and pressed it down towards Ling Han. Ling Han raised both of his fists and punched out. Pung! Both parties collided. Both of them retreated at the same time. Ling Han was astonished. He was actually unable to gain the upper hand in this exchange. No wonder this fellow was so arrogant. It turns out that he had some strength. Jin Juanxing, on the other hand, was shocked. With the advantage of an entire realm, he was actually unable to suppress Ling Han. How was this possible? This was something that he could not accept. Moreover, he felt a sense of shame and anger from having his confidence pierced. Previously, he was full of confidence and boasted, but in the end, it can crush 99% of those in the same realm. Fifth baby nodded in agreement. It's a pity that he met father, said third baby proudly. Ling Han snorted and attacked with his baleful aura. This attack seemed to ignore the distance, and Jin Juanxing was instantly hit. His movements couldn't help but become sluggish. Ling Han took this opportunity to attack. He used the demon monkey fist and punched out. An ancient demon monkey appeared and bared its fangs. It was filled with ruthlessness. Bang! With just one punch, Jin Juanxing was sent flying. However, after activating the divine ability, not only did Jin Juanxing's speed increase, but his ability to resist attacks had also increased by a large amount. This punch was only able to injure him lightly. He let out a roar and returned to attack. Shio shio shio. He leaped like a flickering light, not giving Ling Han a chance to catch him. Otherwise, he would be hit by another baleful aura. Ling Han shook his head. His telekinesis could cover a radius of 15 meters. As long as Jin Juanxing rushed into this area, he would definitely be caught. How could he dodge? He was truly deceiving himself. Blood leopard rush. Jin Juanxing shouted. When he waved his claws again, his hands had already turned scarlet red. A bloody light shot out, and it was like a death scythe that slashed toward Ling Han. Ling Han also roared and fearlessly met the attack, using the demon monkey fist to meet it head-on. Peng, peng, peng. He used a high frequency of attacks to disperse the bloody light. Immediately after, a baleful aura attack shot out. This was something that he had cultivated to the 7th transformation. So what if he was in the enlightenment realm? He would still be affected. Jin Juanxing was instantly stunned. However, his cultivation was higher, and after using the divine ability, he also had a certain degree of immunity to the baleful aura attack. In less than 1/10 of a second he had recovered. But at this time, Ling Han's fist also arrived. Jin Juanxing hastily met the attack. Ping! His entire body was instantly sent flying. You've completely infuriated me. Jin Juanxing roared. He took out a long saber from thin air and grasped it with both hands. The blade immediately shone and became incomparably resplendent. Then he slashed at Ling Han. Magic tool. Ling Han lightly snorted. Do you think you're the only one with a magic tool? His right hand shook, and a hammer appeared. After injecting secret power into it, the veined patterns on the hammer lit up. Following that, he swung the hammer in the air. A blazing white lightning struck toward Jin Juanxing. This wasn't true lightning, but its speed was astonishingly fast. With a pa, it struck the edge of the saber. Pa! Jin Juanxing was once again sent flying. He heavily landed on the ground, and his body emitted an intense charred smell. His face was ashen. It was filled with disbelief and disbelief. He couldn't beat Jin Juanxing with his boiling blood chi, he couldn't beat Jin Juanxing with his divine ability, and he couldn't even take out his magic tool. He was starting to doubt his life. How could there be someone so strong that he was still in such despair even though he had lost an entire realm? Attack together! Jin Sanin roared. He hurriedly charged forward with the remaining Jin clan members. Jin Junsheng was the future hope of the Jin clan. He definitely couldn't die here. 6 people have joined the battle and are attacking you. Time froze once again. Ling Han once again saw the light screen in his sea of consciousness. There were words appearing, and there seemed to be some kind of pulse that transcended words and language. It allowed him to understand the meaning of the words. You can choose to isolate these 6 people, or you can choose to have a few people join the battle. Because these 6 people's realms are above yours, you can also choose to suppress their cultivation. The more people that join the battle, the lower the cultivation suppression, and the more rewards you will obtain after you win. Chapter 3459. Ling Han said confidently, "All 6 of you, suppress your cultivation to the 5th level of inscription patterns." Even if an ordinary engravement realm cultivator stood on the 5th step, he could still sweep them away. Speaking of which, he actually thought quite highly of Jin Junsheng, suppressing his opponent's cultivation to 1 vein. Ling Han rushed out, and like a raging bull he charged around wildly. The power of his fist was too frightening. When he punched out, it was as if a huge mountain was crushing down. Even if Jin San-in and the others were all at the level of 5 veins, it was still not enough, especially when Ling Han had grasped the pulse of each of their attacks. Once he attacked with that frequency, who could stand a chance against him? How can this kid be so strong? Monstrous beyond description. He's only 2 bone. The Jin clan members were all shocked. 7 engravement realm cultivators against a paramount bone realm cultivator, and a mere 2-bone cultivator at that. Not only were they unable to suppress this small fry, but they were also beaten to the point where they could only cry out bitterly. What paramount bone realm? How could it be so strong? Even in the previous civilization, did those saints' sons and saintesses have such strength? The Jin clan was a remnant clan and knew some information about the ancient era. That era was the golden age of martial art, and there were many talented saints' sons and saintesses. But which one of them could reach Ling Han's height? "I'll deal with you all." Ling Han no longer showed mercy. His baleful aura surged out as he circulated the demon monkey fist. Bang! Bang! One after another, their heads exploded. With the impact of the murderous aura and the addition of the beastly monkey fist, Ling Han's battle prowess was definitely unparalleled. Only Jin Junsheng could barely stand against him. The rest were mediocre, and even those with 5 veins were completely insufficient. In just a few punches, only Jin Junsheng and Jin Sanin were still alive. Ling Han looked at Jin Sanin and said, "Old man, you're really sinister. You don't dare to kill me yourself, but you incite the Lu clan to die." "Unfortunately, I didn't manage to kill you," Jin Sanin said hatefully. "I promised the Lu clan that I would send you to reunite with them as soon as possible. Looks like today is the time." Ling Han charged over and punched out. Under the impact of the baleful aura, Jin Sanin immediately fell into a daze. This was not a divine ability, but its power seemed to surpass all divine abilities. Ling Han punched out, and Jin Sanin barely managed to raise his hand to block it, but he still couldn't avoid the fate of being killed. Only Jin Junsheng was left. "How is this possible? How is this possible?" Jin Junsheng's voice trembled. He was a genius of the Jin clan and his life had always been smooth sailing. But now that he had suddenly fallen into such a desperate situation, his will was on the verge of collapsing. Ling Han showed no mercy and added another punch. Jin Junsheng followed in the footsteps of the other Jin family members. The light screen reappeared, and Ling Han saw a new message in his sea of consciousness. "You've won. This is your reward." A ray of light descended from the sky and entered Ling Han's body. Life energy surged, and Ling Han's cultivation base began to stir, as if a shackle was being torn apart. This is very similar to the energy bestowed upon me by the Green Dragon Array Spirit." He hurriedly sat down cross-legged and began to coordinate with this energy to increase his vitality. The shackles within his body were being torn apart, emitting thunderous sounds. Ling Han couldn't help but let out a groan. The increase in vitality in the extreme bone realm was truly too painful. This was because bone fragments were constantly falling off, and this process brought him immense pain. It was truly painful. Ling Han clenched his teeth and persevered. If he couldn't persevere, the increase in vitality would stop. They were both at the 3-bone realm, but one had torn 3 shackles, while the other had torn 10 shackles. Could their battle prowess be compared? He wanted to become the strongest. He didn't want to be like Jin Junxing or Jin Sanin, being defeated or even killed. If he wanted to be the strongest. Another shackle was torn apart. Ling Han was both in pain and happiness. On one hand, he hoped that this pain would end as soon as possible. On the other hand, he hoped that the process of ascension could continue forever. However, after more than half an hour, the great leap in life level finally slowed down and stopped. 3-bone realm. Ling Han revealed a smile. Although he was already very close to the 3-bone realm, if he were to rely on his own cultivation, he would still need a month or so. Furthermore, he would need the treasure fruit of life, unlike this ray of light that could automatically replenish his life force. Congratulations, father. You've taken another step forward. 7th baby was the first to speak. The remaining milk babies also congratulated him. 3rd baby even said, although we are born with a very high vitality, and as long as we grow normally, our realms will naturally increase. However, there are also benefits to growing step by step. 2nd baby nodded and continued, we are born perfect, but it's possible for someone like father to break through the limits and achieve limitless possibilities. Although it's basically all kinds of powerful innate divine bodies that dominate the universe, there are also mortals who have attained the Tao. Furthermore, if mortals can charge to the highest peak, their battle prowess will definitely be incomparably terrifying. Even innate divine bodies will pale in comparison. Ling Han nodded. He had reached the 7 changes when he was at the blood transformation realm. Normally speaking, innate divine bodies should be equivalent to the 6 changes. The 7 changes was really too special. Walking step by step, although it was harder and longer than innate divine bodies, could create limitless possibilities. However, wasn't it too easy to improve one's cultivation here? All he needed to do was fight a few times. Ling Han couldn't help but look forward to when someone would come to challenge him and make him advance a few more levels. It would be best if he was already in the secret realm by the time he got out. He searched the corpses of Jin Junxing and the others. He found a few spatial artifacts, but there was nothing of shocking value in them. Even Jin Junxing's saber was only at the enlightenment realm. Ling Han led the milk babies into the tree hole. It was abnormally spacious inside. It didn't seem like the interior of a tree at all, but more like another world. However, although this place seemed strange, nothing out of the ordinary happened. The group walked calmly for more than an hour and kept going upwards. A light appeared in front of them, and they saw the exit. Outside the exit was actually a lake. The waves were rippling and the lake water was abnormally clear. However, they couldn't see the bottom at all. At most, they could only see about 50 feet underwater. Ling Han used his eye sorcery, but he could only go down about 30 feet. He still couldn't see the bottom. 2nd baby also looked and then shook his head at Ling Han. Dad, I can't see the bottom either. Even 2nd baby's eyesight couldn't see the bottom. This lake was obviously not ordinary deep. There were many people around the lake, but no one went down. It was unknown whether they were waiting for something or observing something. It's about to start, someone suddenly shouted. The sound of water could be heard. A whirlpool appeared in the center of the lake, spinning rapidly. The center of the whirlpool was dark and extremely deep, as if it could reach the bottom of the lake. At this moment, the lake water suddenly changed and froze in an instant. In less than 10 minutes, almost everyone here had been slaughtered by him. Because there was no path ahead, they could only retreat to the tree hole, which resulted in only a few survivors of this massacre. There was only one person left here. Tong Miao stood alone with his sword. He closed his eyes and deeply breathed in the air that was filled with blood. An expression of enjoyment appeared on his face, as if he was addicted. There was the sound of light footsteps. Tong Miao immediately opened his eyes and looked towards the exit of the tree hole. His killing intent was boiling, and his emotions were extremely fanatical. Very soon, a figure walked out. He was tall and slender and had a handsome face. It was as if he had a radiance about him, causing others to feel as if they didn't dare to look at him directly. Tong Miao's eyes involuntarily narrowed, and his grip on his sword tightened even more. The handsome man's gaze swept over, and he couldn't help but sigh. So miserable. Tong Miao directly charged over. Shua, his sword swept out, and it was as if the entire world would be sliced in half by his sword. The handsome man, however, was not afraid at all. His right hand shook, and a spear appeared. Clang, it blocked the sword. A wave of energy rippled out, and the two of them simultaneously shook, revealing expressions of shock. They hadn't received any notification in their minds, which meant that the other party's cultivation shouldn't be weaker than theirs. Who are you to actually be able to block my sword? Tong Miao asked. The handsome man laughed. Only if you can block another 10 of my spear attacks will you be qualified to know my name. Tong Miao snorted and once again brandished his sword. The two of them continuously clashed, and in an instant, they had exchanged more than 10 moves. Haha, I am Dong Qi. The handsome man finally said his name. Tong Miao stuck out his tongue and licked the edge of his sword. He said, So you are the madman Dong Qi. Ha, you are the 7th person to die under my sword, and I even remember your name. Shameless boasting. Dong Qi raised his spear and stabbed forward. The two of them fought fiercely once more, and both of them used their full strength. Fight, fight, fight. The two of them fought fiercely. Only one person could stand out from the rest of the peak, and so powerful existences like them would have to fight sooner or later. They might as well get rid of their competitors now. But suddenly, the two of them stopped fighting at the same time and separated by about 30 meters. Then, they both looked in the direction of the tree hole. In just a moment, they saw a slender figure walk out of the tree hole. It was a young woman with a slender and sexy figure. Her waist was slender, and her 2 long legs could reach the waist of an average person. Her appearance didn't disappoint her good figure. Her facial features were exquisite, and she had a pair of purple eyes that were intelligent and enchanting. The woman glanced at Dong Qi and Tong Miao and smiled sweetly. The two of you really like to fight. You're already fighting so passionately here. Dong Qi's eyes narrowed. I didn't expect someone to recognize me, the woman said in surprise. Dong Qi chuckled. Who doesn't know that Fairy Xin is the disciple of the Primeval Lord? The Primeval Lord is a peerless expert in the prison. It's just that he's temporarily unable to leave. Xin Ryue pursed her lips and smiled. In that case, can the two of you let me go to another peak? Sorry, that's not possible, Tong Miao immediately said coldly. Dong Qi laughed. Fairy Xin really knows how to joke. You can only choose one peak for the fledgling dragon trial. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for the next one. Who knows how many decades or even centuries it will be? You're already dead, so what's the point of talking about opportunities? Xin Ryue shook her head, and a silver whip appeared in each of her hands. The battle resumed. Chapter 3462. Ling Han did not know that there were 3 talented young people fighting fiercely on the shore of the lake. He observed the passage with great interest. There must be an amazing formation here, and he was very interested in formations now. He wanted to study it. If he broke the formation directly, would he take all the benefits? Ling Han thought greedily. There was no other way. Look at the current top geniuses: Hong Tian Step, Enlightenment Realm, Demon Princess, Secret Realm, and the younger generation that came out of each secret realm were at least at the Enlightenment Realm. In comparison, he was only 3 bones, and the gap was too big. No matter how monstrous he was, no matter how much he could fight above his level, it was impossible for him to surpass so many realms. He wasn't in a hurry. Although they were fighting to be the first to reach the top, once the trial ground was opened, there would be an endless stream of people entering. If they were the first to arrive, wouldn't that be unfair to those who came later? Therefore, it would not be so easy to reach the top. The tunnel at the bottom of the lake was very long, and he could see tree roots piercing in. He had to be very careful when walking, or he would bump into them. There were actually sharp thorns on the tree roots. This was poisonous. Although it was not fatal, it could easily pierce the skin if touched. It was extremely painful, and it would make the body weak, and his strength would decrease greatly. Ling Han only suffered once. Fortunately, he circulated the Monkey King's cultivation technique, and after a short while, he managed to suppress the poison. A day passed, and the poison was almost completely eliminated. After a day, he also saw some results. There is a hidden passage here. Through Ling Han's exploration of the formation, coupled with the observation of his eye technique, he discovered a hidden entrance in the passageway, and behind the entrance was another long passageway. He thought about it, walked in, and then hid the entrance. Would this lead straight to the top? Ling Han thought as he moved forward. He was not fast. He had already suffered a loss, and he did not want to suffer again. The passage was very long, but there was an end. After walking for more than an hour, the front suddenly opened up, and a huge square appeared, but it was dark above, and he should still be in the mountain. It was dark here, but Ling Han could still see things within a range of 10 feet after opening it. It was not to say that he could see everything, but it was not difficult for him to see things. In this place, Second Baby's vision was also greatly limited, but he could still see 60 meters away, which was much better than Ling Han's. This plaza was very large, and it was completely empty, causing Ling Han to be greatly disappointed. Second Baby looked up, as if he had discovered something. Ling Han, however, could not see anything, but after advancing a little further, he finally discovered that there was actually a gigantic stone statue in front of him. This stone statue was extremely tall, at least 300 meters tall. Although Ling Han couldn't see the top, he couldn't even see the knees of the stone statue at the end of the 30 meters. Based on this, the height of the stone statue was at least 300 meters. In such a mystic realm, a secret passage was opened, and a huge square was built just for a statue? Ling Han walked around the stone statue and did not find any offerings, which made him very disappointed. Forget it, let's continue forward. They passed through the stone statue and came to the end of the square, where the terrain in front changed suddenly. The previous square was paved with unknown stones, as smooth as white jade, and had a transparent texture. But in front of them was a grassland, full of withered yellow grass. Logically speaking, there was no light here, and it was impossible for vegetation to grow here. The withered grass might have existed for a long time, but it was strange that it had not decayed after so many years. Ling Han stepped on it and suddenly felt soft under his feet. The bottom was mud, so it collapsed with one step. The surface of the mud was broken, and there was a pungent smell. Ugh! The 7 children covered their noses at the same time. Dad, it stinks. Let's go back. It's so smelly. I'm going to fall over. Disgusting. Ling Han also felt disgusted, but his curiosity had been aroused. How could he go back just like that? He thought for a moment and said, "You guys wait here, I'll go take a look." Although the Calabash brothers were somewhat unwilling, they could not resist the stench. After looking at each other, they nodded. Ling Han took out a piece of cloth to cover his nose, and then slowly walked forward step by step. He did not dare to use his body movement technique. Otherwise, if he moved too fast, the sound waves would shake the place into a mess. At that time, he might really die from the stench. Even so, the stench was enough to choke him. Even with the cloth covering his nose, he still had to dig in. After walking for a while, Ling Han suddenly realized that he seemed to be stepping on something hard. He lowered his head and used his ocular technique to take a look. He could not help but be shocked. What he is stepping on is actually a skull. Ling Han's heart skipped a beat. When he looked at the mud again, he could not help but reveal a shocked expression. It was blood mud. He walked forward again and soon stepped on another bone. This time, it was a thigh bone. As he walked forward, there were even more bones. The first few were still intact, but the next few were different. Many of them were broken, and he could see the broken corpses. The number was shocking. According to the density, there were at least a few hundred corpses in the area that Ling Han had explored. Had there been a massacre here? Blood flowed like a river, turning this grassland into a land of blood mud. Ling Han stopped. Should he continue walking forward? There were corpses everywhere. What was there to see? After thinking about it, Ling Han decided to walk to the end. What was the situation here? After walking for a while, he was surprised to find that the ground was actually slowly drying up. When he looked again, he could see corpses lying on the ground. Unlike the corpses from before, which had all decomposed into bones, the corpses here seemed to have died not long ago. The clothes on their bodies were also not rotten. Ling Han squatted down and looked at these corpses. There were obvious wounds on these corpses, all of which were fatal. Some had their hearts blown out, some had their necks cut off, and many corpses had their hands and feet broken. It could be seen that the battle at that time was fierce. Chapter 3463. Ling Han continued to walk forward. Since he had come this far, he certainly couldn't give up halfway. He wanted to know who the executioner of the previous civilization was. Moreover, what the hell were the cultivators of the celestial path that emerged from the mystery realms? Were they the survivors of the previous civilization? He was a curious person. The further he went, the fresher the corpse was, and he could still see the gurgling blood flowing. If this was a victim of the previous civilization, then at least 2,000 years had passed. Why hadn't the blood been drained? Was it a peerless cultivator? Ling Han tried to go closer, but his face immediately changed. His skin was stinging as if he was being cut by a knife. Even breathing was difficult, and he felt uncomfortable. If he took another step forward, he might just explode. Hiss, this person was already dead, but how could he still have such terrifying power? What kind of height did these people reach when they were alive? He saw a corpse. It was clearly humanoid, but it had a furry face, a protruding mouth, and monkey cheeks. It really looked like a monkey. Monkey Man. He thought of Monkey King, and an incredible idea suddenly jumped out. Could Monkey King also be a cultivator of the previous civilization? When he first came to Heavenly Sea Star, the lifespan of mortals was only about 100 years. Even if they were successful in cultivation, their lifespan would not be more than 1,000 years. Therefore, he didn't associate Monkey King with the previous civilization at all. But now that he thought about it, Monkey King could be crushed by a mountain and not die. What kind of power was that? Could it be done in the mystery realms? Probably not. It must be a cultivator of the celestial path. Then Monkey King should be from the previous civilization, so it should be possible. Besides, there were many cultivators appearing in various mystery realms, and they seemed to be inextricably linked to the previous civilization, which further proved this point. Thinking of Monkey King, Ling Han couldn't help but think. He took out a piece of clothing and put it on the monkey man's body, covering its head. He felt a chill in his heart. Since the previous civilization had a massacre, would such a scene happen again? Sigh, why did he always encounter such things? In the lower realm, the 5 sects used all the creatures on the continent as materials to refine pills. They would refine pills once every 10,000 years, slaughtering billions of creatures. This place seemed to be extremely dangerous. No, he had to increase his cultivation as soon as possible. Otherwise, what could he use to protect himself if chaos came again? If he died, then all the living beings in the billions of planes in his body would die with him. Ling Han listened attentively. Although it was too dark to see clearly, his hearing was not affected. He heard a commotion. Something was rapidly approaching, but it was 100 feet away. Otherwise, he would have been able to see it. The question was, since he couldn't see the other party, how did the other party discover him? His vision is far superior to his own. One had to know that he could only see up to a distance of 30 meters after activating his eye sorcery. Just how powerful was this unknown existence? Ling Han was prepared. He could activate absolute fairness at any time. Finally, his eyes caught sight of a black shadow. He was shocked, because this was not a person but a spider. However, this spider's body was huge, comparable to a calf. Otherwise, it wouldn't be described as head. The spider's entire body was pitch black, and its 8 legs were like spears. It dashed forward at an astonishing speed. On the contrary, Ling Han relaxed. because he could clearly see that there were 4 inscription patterns glowing inside the spider's body. A 4-mark demonic beast, there was nothing to be afraid of. But why was a 4-mark demonic beast able to discover his existence from so far away? Firstly, spiders might have an astonishing sense of hearing or smell. Secondly, this place might be covered with spider silk, and he unknowingly touched it, thus alerting this huge spider. Shoo. Still separated by a distance of 7 to 8 feet, the huge spider began to spit out spider silk, entangling Ling Han. This spider possessed a powerful stickiness. If he really came into contact with it, Ling Han would be tightly entangled, greatly affecting his mobility. Ling Han dodged and then retaliated with a punch. The strength of the punch materialized, and a glowing fist the size of an iron wok smashed towards the black spider. This fist was even wrapped with a high-level metal attribute energy, increasing its destructive power. Pung! The fist landed on the spider silk. He didn't expect this spider silk to be so tough, and was actually unable to penetrate it. However, after being blocked like this, the momentum of the spider silk was completely exhausted, and it instantly fell to the ground, and was retrieved by the huge spider. Ling Han was slightly shocked. Although this punch wasn't his full strength, it was still enough to suppress the majority of engravement realm cultivators. He didn't expect it to actually be unable to suppress this huge spider. It was quite powerful. The huge spider randomly spat out spider silk. Shoo. This place was covered with white spider silk, as if it was entangled with numerous silk ribbons. With an astonishing speed, it weaved into a huge net. With another jump, it was already on the spider web, and it rushed towards Ling Han. On the spider web, its speed was even faster. Very soon, it arrived in front of Ling Han, and one of its long legs pierced towards Ling Han, like a cold iron spear. Ling Han's arrogance rose, and he raised his fist to meet the attack. High-level metal attribute energy entangled his fist. He wanted to see whose fist was harder. The fist and the spider's leg collided, forming a huge shockwave that shook the entire spider web. Ling Han laughed loudly, and his battle intent blazed. His fists continuously punched out, and he madly punched out. The huge spider was also very tyrannical, and it didn't back down in the slightest as it clashed head-on with Ling Han. After a series of hundreds of attacks, Ling Han and the huge spider stopped at the same time. Fresh blood dripped from Ling Han's fist, and the huge spider wasn't much better off. Its entire spider leg was somewhat deformed. Luckily, it had a total of 8 legs, and it was enough for it to continue fighting. You have some strength. Ling Han's battle intent surged, and he pounced forward. Again! He used the demon monkey fist, and as he punched out, an ancient demon monkey appeared, emitting a boundless evil aura. His attainments in the demon monkey fist were becoming more and more profound. Chapter 3465. There was a monkey following him. Although he had been dead for many years, his strength was still above the immortal path. He could be said to be a strong bodyguard. Ling Han thought about it and decided to continue forward. He walked in front while the monkey followed. The darkness was boundless and seemed to have no end. After walking for a long time, Ling Han felt his vision blur and a person blocked his way. To be exact, it was a corpse. Weren't you in a trance and only knew to follow me? Why did you suddenly block my way? Ling Han wanted to circle around, but the monkey man continued to move, always blocking his path. What was the meaning of this? Obviously, an immortal expert, even if he was already dead, was not someone Ling Han could fight against. The monkey blocked his way and Ling Han couldn't go past. Could it be that the path ahead was very dangerous? This monkey didn't have any enmity towards him. Now that he suddenly blocked his way, maybe there was great danger ahead. That was why he stopped him. All right, Ling Han nodded and walked back. As expected, the monkey man didn't stop him again, and just like before, followed behind him unsteadily, as if he was a walking corpse. He was a walking corpse. Ling Han felt that his heart was very big. He was followed by a dead monkey, but he still had the mood to care about such details. They walked, and very soon, they returned to the public square. Daddy! The 7 milk babies pointed at him. I know. Ling Han nodded. A person with a big hole in his chest was following behind him. Anyone who saw that would be scared. Don't be nervous, this brother saved me, he explained. The 7 Calabash brothers all nodded and immediately looked at the dead monkey in a different light. Second baby stared at the monkey for a while and said, this guy once stood on the 3rd step of the immortal path. Tis. He even cultivated a silver core. Unfortunately, he exploded. How strange, he has been dead for so many years, why can he still move? Could it be that his lingering spirit is so strong? The 3rd step of the immortal path. No wonder he still had the battle power of the immortal path even after death. Ling Han scratched his head. Could it be that he had to bring this monkey man corpse out with his heart pierced through? But with a corpse at the immortal path level following him, Ling Han couldn't possibly chase it away. Sai, if you want to follow, then follow. Who asked you to be so awesome? Ling Han and the 7 milk babies walked in front, while the monkey man followed them unsteadily. When they arrived at the stone statue area in the center of the square, they saw that the front suddenly lit up. The huge stone statue seemed to come alive, emitting a golden glow. The light dispelled the darkness and made the huge stone statue stand out completely. It was roughly 1,500 zhang tall. This was the image of a middle-aged man with an awe-inspiring divine might. This was especially the case for his eyes. Even though they were carved out of stone, they were bright and full of expression. There was an indescribable divine might to them. There is a boundary between life and death that cannot be crossed. A resounding voice rang out, causing Ling Han's ears to feel like they were about to explode. The stone statue emitted a golden glow, instantly illuminating the entire square. The monkey man immediately revealed a fearful expression and continuously retreated until he exited the square and entered the still dark area. When the monkey man completely exited the square, the light emitted by the stone statue also dimmed, returning to its original appearance. Could it be that this stone statue specialized in suppressing evil? This place was very strange. There were corpses everywhere, but the dead could still stand up. However, there was a stone statue suppressing them, preventing them from entering the realm of the living. Ling Han couldn't help but be filled with curiosity. Was there really a place like the netherworld after death? Otherwise, what kind of place was this, and what was the significance of this stone statue? Thinking about this, Ling Han turned and left. If he had the chance, he wanted to return to Ocean Sea Mountain and ask Monkey Bro about it. He hadn't seen him in a long time, and he didn't know if Monkey Bro had escaped yet. Ling Han returned to the end of the secret passage and left. After covering up his tracks, he continued to walk along the tunnel at the bottom of the lake. After carefully walking for a long time, he finally reached the end of the tunnel. The 8 of them walked out and saw a huge stone wall in front of them. There was a huge picture carved on it. However, there were at least 100 corpses lying below the stone wall. Some had been decapitated, while others had been chopped in half. It could be seen that the culprit was extremely cruel. Ling Han's gaze swept across the area. There were 3 living people here, 2 men and 1 woman. They all had their backs to him and were looking up at the stone wall, as if they were comprehending some kind of peerless martial art. Hearing the commotion of Ling Han's group, the white-robed man among the 3 stood up and turned around. He looked familiar. Ling Han was startled at first, but then he immediately recalled that this was the person he had seen when he had jumped into the ice cave in the lake. Because this person had just walked out of the tree hole, he had only glanced at him briefly. More people have come to die. Tong Miao revealed a bloodthirsty smile and walked towards Ling Han. Ling Han frowned and said, "You killed all the people here?" "That's right, and you're about to become their companion," Tong Miao said. Whenever he saw blood, his killing intent would surge endlessly. If it weren't for the fact that Dong Qi and Xen Ryue's strength wasn't any weaker than him, they wouldn't have been able to sit here so peacefully. Ling Han focused his gaze and saw that Tong Miao had 6 inscription patterns in his body. There were also dozens of light dots around him. This was clearly an awakening realm cultivator who had broken through with 6 bones. If he could reach 6 bones in the extremity realm, then he must have also reached 6 changes in the blood transformation realm. The higher the realm, the harder it was to break through. But Ling Han wasn't afraid. Even if the trial didn't suppress Tong Miao's cultivation, he would still be absolutely fair. Ling Han smiled slightly. I don't believe you. So what if you don't believe me? I don't care. Tong Miao charged over and slashed with his sword. In that instant, time seemed to freeze. Ling Han once again saw the screen in his consciousness, asking him if he wanted to lower his opponent's cultivation. Lower it to 6 bones, said Ling Han through his consciousness. Tong Miao's cultivation immediately dropped. Tong Miao was surprised. He stopped in his tracks and said, "So you're only at the extreme bone stage. Ha, you're just at the extreme bone stage and you still dare to dream of becoming a dragon whelp. Let me cut you in half with my sword and end your fantasies." He attacked again. Even if his cultivation was suppressed to 6 bones, he still thought he could easily kill Ling Han. Ling Han clenched his fist, wrapped it with high-level energy and punched out. Bang! The fist smashed into the sword, and an intense light flashed. But neither the sword nor the fist was able to suppress the other. They were in a deadlock. Ling Han nodded. This Tong Miao was similar to Hong Tianbu. They had both cultivated each realm to the extreme. But when he had fought against Hong Tianbu in his one-vein state, he had used all his methods and only ended up with both sides suffering. That was why he had decided to suppress Tong Miao's cultivation to 6 bones. It was the right choice to be safe. Chapter 3466. You really do have some strength. Tong Miao was surprised. He believed that Ling Han's cultivation base was at the 6-bone realm, which was why he had pulled his cultivation base down to the 6-bone realm so that they could have a fair battle. He was confident that he was invincible among those of the same cultivation level, but now that he was unable to gain the upper hand in a single strike, he was somewhat shocked. Other than Dong Qi and Xan Riyue, there was actually another genius who was not weaker than him. "Where are you from?" he asked. "Ling Han of Xianbei country," Ling Han said lightly. Tong Miao was even more surprised. In this world of martial art, which could only be said to be primitive, there was actually such a genius. The two prides of the imperial capital, Hong Tianbu and Ling Han. "So you're Ling Han." Xan Riyue had long since stood up to watch the battle. When she heard Hong Tianbu's words, she couldn't help but let out a no, revealing an expression of understanding. Tong Miao was at a loss. What Hong Tian steps, Ling Han, what the hell were all these? Forget it, there's no need to care about it. In any case, they'll just die under my sword. He waved his sword and slashed down. Even though their strength was equal, it did not mean that their battle prowess was equal as well. This was a completely different concept. Martial skills, experience, and adaptability on the spot would determine the balance of victory and defeat. A sword slashed down, and with a chi sound, raging flames burned on the blade of the sword as it slashed down towards Ling Han. The sword had yet to arrive, but an incomparably scorching heatwave had already assaulted him, causing Ling Han to feel as if the hair on his skin was about to be scorched. Scorch marks appeared on the corners of his clothes, with light smoke rising from them. Did he want her to run away naked? Ling Han was enraged. He activated his stone energy, forming a barrier in front of him. Then, with a light whistle, he charged toward Tong Miao. Bang bang bang, iron fists bombarded the long sword unceasingly, only to see tongues of flame spitting out randomly, high-level energy colliding, flashing dazzling sparks. Xan Riyue and Dong Qi were watching the battle. They exchanged glances at the same time and revealed a trace of fear. This uncivilized person was really strong. Under normal circumstances, they would be able to easily kill Ling Han with their extremely high cultivation levels. But in this training ground, the battles would be relatively fair, and a higher realm would not have much of an advantage. Only one person could walk out from each peak. In other words, they were all competitors, and there was no room for compromise. Only one person could stand out. Therefore, the fact that Ling Han was so powerful also alerted them. It turned out that there was a third strong competitor. They watched the battle seriously, trying to capture the flaws of Ling Han and Tong Miao. Everyone had their flaws. Some of them had imperfect techniques, and some of them made mistakes during cultivation. It was the same for Ling Han and Tong Miao. They were both looking for the opponent's weak points to deal a fatal blow. However, their strengths were extremely close, and their flaws were pitifully few. Even if they were exposed, they would disappear in a flash. It was extremely difficult to capture and react in such a fast-paced battle. Only by fighting for a long time and familiarizing themselves with each other's moves would they be able to take advantage of each other's flaws and decide the victor in an instant. Ah, how delightful, how delightful! Tong Miao laughed. Although your realm isn't high, your combat strength isn't weak at all. You are qualified to be the one I kill and remember. Was this considered glory? Ling Han chuckled. You're bragging to the heavens. You'll know very soon whether I'm bragging or not. He was struck several times, causing blood to flow out. Ling Han let out a long howl and his blood qi also surged. He did not believe it. The two of them fought fiercely, and this time, Ling Han had a slight advantage. This caused Tong Miao, Dong Qi, and Xen Ryue's expressions to change. How could they not know that this meant that after Ling Han's blood qi surged, his battle prowess had increased even more than theirs? In reality, this increase was one of the standards to measure a cultivator's potential. It was mainly based on how perfect one's cultivation in the opening pulse realm was. Ling Han's advantage meant that he had cultivated the opening pulse realm to an even more perfect level. Hiss, this monster! Tong Miao was speechless. He was an existence in a prison. Although it was a cage, there were countless experts inside. The sect leader of the Hengtian sect even stood on the second step of the celestial path. Under his tutelage, his foundation was actually not as perfect as that of an outsider. He gritted his teeth and transferred the sword in his left hand to his right hand, combining them into one again. His freed left hand took out a small stone. He forcefully squeezed and the stone shattered. Moreover, it shattered very thoroughly, turning into dust. Tong Miao took a deep breath, and all the dust entered his mouth. Instantly, his eyes became crimson, and his aura also rose madly, far exceeding the increase that should have been caused by the surging of his blood qi. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.